Greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, Robert Meyer Burnett. I invite you to watch and listen to the Designing Hollywood podcast, brought to you by Martika Ibarra and the great, legendary Hollywood costume designer, Marilyn Vance. I am afforded the wonderful opportunity of co-hosting the show. If you are interested in the magic of Hollywood, the design of Hollywood, the clothes of Hollywood, watch the Designing Hollywood podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts from, or find the video version on YouTube. That's right, the Designing Hollywood podcast. Why would you ever want to miss it, especially if you love the movies?
Observations with Robert Meyer Burnett.
Good evening. It's a new show here on the Burnettwork. This new show is as yet undefined. It's called Midnight Meta, and we're going to discover what that means together. And of course, I can't do it without my cohorts. First and foremost, you know her, you love her. She's Welcome to the show. Welcome to the first episode of Midnight Meta.
Hello, Robert.
How are you
tonight?
Okay, enough of that. But yeah, you know, it's time. We did 75 episodes of Midnight Metal.
Wow.
And it was just time for a change. It's New Year. And, you know, you and Lael and I kind of have a different kind of a vibe going. And as you know, there's going to be some changes coming to this network. And you yourself are going to be taking a larger role.
Yes, Robert. Yes.
What are you going to be?
I'm going to be creative director of the...
You are.
Yes,
absolutely.
I'm creative director. And I'm so proud to be part of the Burnettwork, Robert.
Well, and we are happy to have you, you know, as we expand our ranks. Shaba ranks, if you're a Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo fan. Was Shaba ranks in Electric, was he in Electric Boogaloo 2? I don't know, maybe he was only in the first one. No one even knows who I'm talking about. It's like when you go...
Shaba, Mr. Loverman, Trailer Load of Girls, Champion Lover.
Oh, yeah.
Champion Lover.
Yeah, you know, and we're gonna celebrate the '80s, man. We're gonna talk, not tonight, but we'll talk about Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon with Show Enough.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
I know. Where's that 4K?
There's so much to talk about, Robert. So much.
You know, I was showing you this. I got this. I didn't get it in time to show and fully articulated, but I can't tell you how much I love this figure.
It is so fantastic, Robert. What a wonderful job they did.
They did a great job. The Jackie Earle Haley head sculpt is dope. So for those of you who don't know, this is Rorschach from The Watchmen, but when he's not Rorschach, this is Walter Kovacs. And if you look at the comic book and the movie, you constantly see him walking through scenes, like at the comedian's funeral. And this figure is dope as fuck. It comes with lots of different accessories. He's got 4 head sculpts, 3 Rorschach sculpts with his mask on. It comes with the End is Nigh sign, which I love. I just want to have, when I set up my Modja cases, I want to put him in the middle, just walking in front of everybody.
Who could forget how fantastic he looks with and without the, the Rorschach mask, so to speak. Even when he's confronted without the mask, he has that smile on his face and shit is going down. I love that character so much. He just doesn't back down, and I just think he's so fantastic. And they did such a good job with him. Boy, he looks great.
Such a good job, and it comes with a lot of accessories, and they have a really cool his like grappling hook gun. They made a metal piece. It's like it's just been fired, so it's coming out. It's really, I mean, they're getting, these third-party figures are getting much, much, much better.
And thank God they are coming out, because there needs to be a little bit more competition and a little bit more variety in the figures that they're offering us.
I agree. I mean, Hot Toys, I was just telling you earlier, Hot Toys, as I call them the racist toy company, but they released their Casca Reeves. I mean, what a head sculpt. That was one of the better. I mean, that head sculpt is absolutely incredible. I was showing it on obviously Fully Articulated, and it's unbelievable.
It's so beautiful. She's a beautiful woman. Her hair, even the care that they took for her hairstyle, the intricate braiding, the lovely expression on her face. She makes that Mandalorian outfit look hot. And she's the one who pulled Baby Yoda out of that, pit where they threw him into and rescued him like a pro. She just dove right in. I mean, her badassery just comes, off in this figure, and she just looks marvelous. What a beautiful celebration of a beautiful woman who plays this character, and she doesn't back down. Through the entire show, she has that confidence that I love that Mandalorians have when she's wearing the helmet and when she's not wearing it.
For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, this is Casca Reeves, and this is the head sculpt. It's Sasha Banks, right? Sasha Banks plays Casca Reeves. I mean, this is an incredible looking figure, and of course we're not going to get it till the end of 2023, but still, it's a great figure, and it's nice to see a woman of color. I'm still, as I said, I'm still waiting for the Dora Milaje. I need a Koye, Ao. I need my Dora Milaje. They're the stormtroopers of Wakanda, and the costumes are great. So speaking of action figures and Mandalorians and all that stuff, I think it's become apparent where they are going with. Here's what I think. I think that Ahsoka. I think that Book of Boba Fett. I think the new episodes, the new season of Mandalorian. I think we kind of know, especially after seeing the return of the armor. Didn't you just get the armor?
I did just get the armor. Yes, I have a 1/6 scale armor. Yes.
Did you get that from Sideshow, or did you get it from somewhere else?
I got it from Sideshow.
You did get it, so they have it in stock.
Yeah, I actually got it a while ago, Robert.
Oh, see, I didn't get it. I didn't order that, but now after the last episode of Book of Boba Fett, I have Heavy Mando already, but I'm like,
I'm so lucky.
Yeah, I was like, well, I'm not going to sleep on that, but I've got to get the armor now because, and there's a lot of speculation on who the armorer actually is.
Yes.
And if you notice on her helmet, I never noticed this before until I was watching a YouTube video. So what I was going to say is, I think that they're setting up. There you go. Look at that. Now, if you look at the top of the helmet has. Where have you seen those little horns before?
Darth Maul.
That's right. Little
Darth Mirians.
Little Darth Maul acolyte there. Yeah, and I think that we're being set up for the retaking of Mandalore. Which is pretty cool. I mean, I think the last 2 episodes of Book of Boba Fett, I would expect great things.
Absolutely.
So I mean, what I found interesting about all of this, well, first of all, let me ask you. Obviously, I think Book of Boba Fett, we can say, has been sort of I've liked ideas in it, but I think the execution has been very up and down. It's been the quality of it has wildly diverged sometimes from scene to scene, and which has been perplexing to me. And then, of course, we get the last episode. It's like, and now we return you to the Mandalorian, already in progress. And it was interesting because clearly to me, they wanted to do a Boba Fett movie. Josh Trank was going to direct that Boba Fett film, and they've been trying to get it off the ground. The Mandalorian, obviously, to me, is the Boba Fett TV show. I mean, it was the Boba Fett TV show. And I think, like, they finally figured out, well, we can bring Boba Fett into it now. And now, of course, we have Bo-Katan and Casca Reeves and the Death Watch Mandalorians. And we actually saw flashbacks to the destruction of Mandalore in this episode.
Oh,
And they're bringing up, what is it? I want to say Concord Dawn, but it's not Concord Dawn. Is it? You know, the
Crimson Dawn.
The Crimson Dawn is but Concordia, I forget the name. The moon that they
yes, the moon that they escaped to.
Yes, there's why am I drawing a blank? I am drawing a blank, and I am sorry.
Okay.
That's why I need we got to
I
get
wrote it down somewhere.
Lael here. He can weigh in on this because I used to know everything there was to know about Star Wars, but then I got old.
Well, that's okay. No one's going to quiz us or anything like that. It's all good. It's the moon of Concordia.
Moon of Concordia. That's Concord Dawn. Concordia. That's what it is. So, oh yeah, that's right. It comes with that background thing. Yeah. See, I love it when they do that. But I think it's going to be interesting to see where they go. So let me ask you this. First of all, Book of Boba Fett. What are your feelings about it? How are you feeling about the Book of Boba Fett?
Well, I have a confession to make, Robert. And, as you know, I do watch your shows, Robservations. I practically watch every show you make. And it was hard for me to admit that what you were saying was correct about the Book of Boba Fett and how it's not what we expected. And, he wasn't quite the Boba Fett we wanted to see. And there were a lot of things that they led us to believe that we were going to get a different type of Boba Fett in this series. And, we were kind of thrown a curveball on this one. Everything in it was kind of unexpected and not what we thought it was going to be. And so I wasn't quite enthralled, nor was I grabbed entirely by the series to continue with it, because it felt like we were actually missing certain elements about Boba Fett that we needed to see in order to, understand his journey. Like, for example, when he talked about how, he wasn't satisfied with taking jobs anymore by people who don't care about him. And, I felt like we needed to see an example of some of the, turbulent background of what happened to him. And that might have kind of justified a little bit of why he had to actually walk away. But we didn't really get that. And, that's how they decided to demonstrate everything to us. But it kind of was a little unfulfilling in regards to a series. And, truth be told, we wanted to see, him going through those bounty hunter years. In fact, I thought that that's what this series was going to be. Him explaining how his father left him, the book of how to be a bounty hunter. And, this is how things went down for him. But we didn't really get that. And, sometimes you don't get what you want in a series, and that's fine. So, but I'm a fan and I continue to watch it. But
if you try sometime, you just might find you get what you need.
Pretty much. I mean, it was a little disappointing, and it was hard to watch your review, Robert, that show you did on it. I was like, Robert's saying that? Yeah, he's right.
Oh, man, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Like, it was painful to admit to myself that that's how I felt. I was like, I agree with him, But so that's why I think that, for me and for a lot of fans of the show, we were kind of bewildered by what we were getting. And, you're just so happy to get any Star Wars anyway, especially in this world, the way budgets go. We're very lucky to get stuff. So
there's stuff like they did, when Boba Fett's looking for his armor and he flies over the Sarlacc pit. Like, it was you're looking at that going, wait a minute, you climbed out of the Sarlacc pit with your armor on. I understand you were knocked out when the Jawas took your armor, but when the previous episode you had your Prometheus drone that you threw into Jabba's palace to give you look at that figure, my God. And who's here with us? The other part of our, let me put the other part of Now, Lael, I don't know if we are talking Boba Fett, Mandalorians. We're talking exactly what I think they set up in the last episode. I'm going to put you in the show because I think you know actually more about this, to be honest, than I do. I will give you my theory about. Well, it's not really a theory. I'm not the only one talking about this. I'm sure you've been talking about it the last couple days, but so basically, let me put you in. Everyone else, Lael has not heard the new theme song that we have now, but we got to add you to it. But so anyway, Lael, is my theory that we are seeing the team that is going to retake Mandalore being assembled.
Yeah.
You know, and we've got and the armor is that what's the name of the Mandalorian that followed Darth Maul? And I think the armor is her. She's got the Darth Maul like horns on the top of her. I forget her name. I'm trying to think of it.
That followed Maul?
Well, yeah, that was working with Maul, that followed Maul.
There was a man who did.
I think, but it was a woman. She has a name. And I'm trying to figure out what her name is. But anyway, you know,
it's going to come to me. I think if it's because it's now that's only if did they make the story canon though.
Well, that's the thing. I don't see. Here's what I find really interesting about what they're doing with Star Wars.
Yeah,
they're taking all of these Star Wars legends, these things that have been decanonized, and they've been bringing them back. Like Grand Admiral Thrawn is not canon, but now he is. Yeah. You know, and I mean he made it into animation. Now he's making it into live action, and it's amazing because when you think back a little Star Wars history, Star Wars had sort of fallen out of the public consciousness in the latter half of the 80s. You know,
someone says Rick Gar Saxon.
That sounds is that
well, Gar. Okay, so Gar Saxon was like sort of like a complex character though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm really I do think it was okay. So here's the thing, because there's so many daggone theories that are going on right now.
By the way, I gotta say this: Forensic Tools Poozle says there are exactly 3 Mandalorians in existence, and the chief obsesses about whether or not Mando took off his mask. She allows Mando and the big guy to engage in a fight to the death. This is so lame. Well,
I think
got a point there.
Yeah, but okay. So I mean, from a certain point of view, we always say that, right?
From a certain point of view.
From definitely from a certain point of view, I think that it was, definitely needed. Because it's also, you got to look at it also as a test of loyalty. You know what I mean? So there's a lot that kind of plays into it. There's only 3 left. The last of, and it's basically by creed. I mean, this isn't something that, even with everything that's basically going on right now, they still live by a certain creed. You know what I mean? A creed that has to be followed. And this is why, like, I had a conversation with a few people about this yesterday, even before the show, and what they're setting up is a separation. It's a huge separation between Mando, Din Djarin, and the creed that he basically follows right now. And I think that we're seeing that. You know what I mean? We've seen his life, or the development of his character with the watch. After the watch, now basically we see him, and I think there's a revelation with Din Djarin that I think we're going to learn, but we're not going to learn it until season 3,
right,
of The Mandalorian. You know what I mean? Paz Vizsla, when we talk about his particular character and his lineage, being that he is with House Vizsla, it would appear that he has a lot of he has just as much right to it. But at the same time, I mean, what we're discovering right now is, again, I'm glad that they told this story, and I'm glad that they kind of tied it in with Clone Wars, everything that we knew about, and also Rebels, because everything that we know about the dark saber, everything that we knew about the dark saber, even in Legend. I'm glad that we're actually seeing that, and that someone made this reference yesterday, and it was really really interesting, and because people were trying to figure out why is it that when we seen Moff Gideon wielding the dark saber, why was it so easy for him? And in actuality, it wasn't. If you actually looked at him handling the actual, because I watched it like twice after which, because I just wanted to kind of confirm what I thought. And if you watched him, he was handling it with fury. He was handling also based off of belief in his heart and what he saw as, he sees himself as more so the person who's going to bring back the order. He's going to bring back the order of just mainly of the empire, what he believes. So that's what he led off of. What she was telling him was true. Like, you can't lead off of strength. You're leading off of or a strength or pure emotion. Is mainly within your heart, in which if it's like a connection that you have to the blade itself. And I thought about that, and I was like, even looking at Paz Vizsla when he was handling Blade, he could have easily killed Mando, but he doesn't have rights to it. You know what I mean? He has no rights to that blade, even though by
Paz Vizsla is the heavy Mando.
Heavy Mando.
Yeah.
Paz Vizsla is he's basically heavy Mando. So,
how great is it that we have that figure?
It's so great. You guys
but
are
you
so
know what?
lucky.
And it's crazy though, because a lot of people sold that figure.
I know.
And I'm like, wow. Now I know people, like, I saw a whole bunch of people like cramming or just scavenging right now today. Like, they were scavenging to try to find that figure. And I'm like, you should have never gave it up. But
dude, I didn't get it. I gotta get it. I got it in armor now. I didn't get it before. I gotta get it before it's gone.
Oh, bro, I got the armor back there.
I think you can still get the armor.
Heavy Mando. Yeah, the armor is still available. She's still available.
She's gonna be gone soon.
Oh, no, you can get her.
Yeah.
No, but
Well,
it's funny, I didn't get that figure, but now I need to get that figure.
I mean, to add to what Lael is saying, it's pretty clear that Din has changed, because this relationship that he has had with Grogu is something that's so important to him. When he was asked about his helmet and, like this question about, did you remove your helmet? It may not seem terribly significant, but he was not ashamed of taking his helmet off. I mean, obviously he was committed to doing that. And, he needed to show Grogu his face. And, once he did that, he truly became sort of like separate from the children of the Watch. So he may not become a child of the Watch again. I know that he was told how he can become a child of the Watch. He just has to go to the mines underneath Mandalore, but that might not happen. And that's okay, because he's proud of showing Grogu his face. And the Darksaber was actually meant to be used as something to rule. But Mando has been using it as a bounty hunter, not to rule. And so, when you're kind of using it for alternative purpose, there's this different thing that happens. The crystal inside of it, it's heavy because it's the weight or the responsibility of ruling the Mandalorians. And so when you don't do that, it's like he's rejecting the notion that he's going to be ruling all Mandalorians. He wants to use it, but he doesn't want to be the ruler of Mandalore. So, obviously there's a conflict there. And, as such, it's not going to be working well for him. And he also has a conflict of the fact that he is still attached to Grogu. Yeah. And, who knows? I mean, at some point, and Lael and I were discussing this, is that, he may actually be, even though he's not a Force user, there is some sort of idea or notion that the Force is tied to the Darksaber because it has a crystal inside of it. And that crystal it's like an entity that is the Force. So, there's a lot to kind of consider in the sense he doesn't have to be a Jedi necessarily, but, his ability to wield the Force and to sort of agree to become a leader with the Darksaber is what the Darksaber is kind of craving. So if you don't want to rule, Like Moff Gideon wanted to rule. Other people, they want to rule when they have the Darksaber, but for the Mandalorian, for Din to have it and not actually rule, there's always going to be that conflict about that in the Darksaber itself. Yeah. So, it's kind of interesting to see him kind of wielding it, but saying, I've got this fantastic Darksaber, but I'm not going to use it for ruling. And it feels like a contradiction in a way. And I'm sure that the saber itself doesn't really like that. And that's when the weight of having that saber and not being able to use it kind of crashes down on him. The weight of being a ruler, but not taking the responsibility of a ruler is something that he's conflicted about too.
No, no, it's interesting. So I just finished. I'm a big Ozark fan, and I just finished the first half of the 4th season of Ozark, the first 7 episodes.
Wow.
And someone said to me, or someone tweeted, or someone said, "Why is it you expect Star Wars to be written like Ozark?"
And somebody said that to you?
Well, it was on Twitter feed. I don't know if someone said it to me, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, Ozark is a show that it basically, my theory about Ozark is it's a show that's actually set in purgatory. All of these characters are going to hell for various reasons, and so it's putting them through. But the way that the 7 episodes move the pieces on the board, the writing is really, really good. The plotting is really, really good on the show.
Yeah.
Right.
And what I expect from Star Wars is Godfather 2 level storytelling. And someone said on the John Campea show today, like, what would you have Bryce Dallas? The question was, should Bryce Dallas Howard direct a Star Wars movie? Because she's done 3 very good episodes of The Mandalorian now. Let's face it. And I had suggested what she should do is Solo 2.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, you do it like Godfather 2 and you tell 2 stories. You get Harrison Ford to play Han Solo old, and you have Alden Ehrenreich to play Han Solo young, and you juxtapose why was Han Solo and Chewbacca, how did he lose the Falcon, what has he been doing, why did he leave Leia, what was going on. You see the rift that happened with Ben Solo, and you bring back Adam Driver to play Kylo Ren. And then in the same time, you see Han's ascendancy to becoming the pirate that he was. And then you see kind of his downfall, and you could explore the rise of the First Order and what happened to the rebellion and the New Republic and all that. And you make it an epic story. Instead of being the father and the son, like in Godfather 2, you see 2 versions. You see a young man and an older man, and you juxtapose their stories to tell one larger story. Yeah. By the way, I'm a fucking genius. Let's all face it. I am. But I'm like, to me, like, I don't think Solo is a bad movie.
Nah, it wasn't at all.
I do enjoy it, and it's become the Crimson Dawn and Darth Maul and all of that stuff. There's a lot of really interesting things going on there.
Yeah.
But again, it does what Last Crusade did. Like, let's stuff everything into the first hour of his life, and that'll define who he is. Like, in one day, Indiana Jones, he hates snakes. He got the little scar in his chin, and it all happened in an afternoon. I hate that.
When you try to rush it.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, like, that's why you Godfather 2 is Solo 2, because I think that what's really interesting about Solo is I think it's actually gained in stature as people have watched it over and over again, because it's actually pretty interesting. If you look at it as it's not a great movie, but I think it's a pretty solid movie. It's a lot of fun, and it's the problem with it, I think the biggest problem was you can't make a Han Solo movie. You can't have Harrison Ford playing Han Solo and then a year later or whatever have someone else play Han Solo as a young man. Yeah. It doesn't work that way. We have already had. I have the same problem when Chris Pine played James Kirk in Star Trek 09. I'm like, we already know who Kirk is, and you're going to recast him. and they keep moving away. Like, I can't stand the portrayal of Spock, but whatever. I won't get into Star Trek, but I do think that there's a lot of really interesting Star Wars going on, but the writing of it it deserves Godfather-esque type writing. And I don't understand, like, Favreau's doing the best he can, but I have the same problem I have with Star Wars is based on great classical storytelling.
Yeah.
And the writing has been, especially in Book of Boba Fett, has been cliche, it's been lackluster, it's been like it's just been reusing very familiar tropes.
Yeah.
And, you know, when Lucas was making the original Star Wars, he was looking at Seven Samurai, he was looking at a lot of Kurosawa movies and World War II movies and reading Joseph Campbell or whatever. And he had collaborators that elevated this material. He thought he was making a children's fantasy or whatever, but everyone else elevated it and made it into a fantasy for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think the frustration that we all are having is we're living through a world where there's so much great TV. These shows are, whether you're watching Money Heist from Spain or Squid Game from Korea, or Ozark or The Crown, or what, there's so much great television writing. It's disappointing that Star Wars does not have ace, top of the line writing. And I find it frustrating because I feel like there's this idea of I mean, Favreau's doing his best, but I'm like, bro, you need to go back and read a lot of classic literature. I mean, if you're going to write Star Wars, you got to read William Shakespeare. And I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that. I don't necessarily mean you have to write it like Shakespeare, but look at a story like Hamlet. Yeah. I mean, when Kurosawa made Ron, he's like, I'll make it King Lear. Yeah. That's what you have to do. I mean, Lucas looked at Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress, you know, and I find it frustrating that if you're going to make a movie about a guy who becomes a crime lord and takes over crime in a city, I mean, look at Abel Ferrara's King of New York.
Source material, yeah.
You know, and there's so many great movies to go, just go emulate that. You know, it's frustrating to me that I feel that the writing, especially in Boba Fett should have been epic.
Yeah.
And I feel that the writing has really let it down. And so, by the way, is the direction.
Well, you know, here's the thing, and this is what I was thinking about too. You know, I said this on another show, and I firmly believe this. I believe that The Mandalorian was the Boba Fett story that he pitched, that he wanted to write, that he wanted to introduce. He got the Mandalorian story, and the Boba Fett story or what he's written now is something that he wasn't prepared for. Like, he had no idea that this was probably going to even be greenlit, the Book of Boba. So now you're piecing together a story based off of, okay, all right, this is you know what you want to write. You know what direction you want to take, but I think it just feels rushed. Like a lot of it feels rushed. It just feels like you're trying to. So what it looks like to me is that you're trying to tell a story, and you're trying to actually, you know, incorporate a lot of these tropes that we know about. Criminal underground films that we've actually seen. You're trying to incorporate certain things, but you have no idea. And the thing is, it's crazy because he was involved in writing on certain films that incorporated that idea. Like, but it's just like he's not getting to that point with the Book of Boba. And then you basically shoehorn, now, mind you, this last episode that we actually saw, even though it was good and I loved it, I think basically, like I said, now it has placed the next two episodes in a very complex situation. Like, the thing is, like, you have to live up to a certain level now at that point. You have to live up to the, you know, or the feeling that everyone got from this particular episode, because everybody's been saying it like it's the Mandalorian 2.0 or, you know, 2.3 or 3.0, whatever you want to say it. You know, that has been established. And the one thing that I didn't notice, and I watched it again, and I was like, well, wait a minute. So I had to go back and look at the episode before this one. And at the end of the episode, she asked, okay, you know, how many credits do you have? He said, I have plenty of credits. You know what I mean? What I need is muscle. She said, well, with the right amount of credits, you can buy muscle, whatever. Okay, cool. And then I watched this episode and I'm like, okay, cool. You know, we go through, you know, we see Mando in a totally different element. We see basically him, you know, as a part of of establishing, you know, his creed, his order with the Mandalorian, and then him actually going to Tatooine. And the whole time I'm just looking at this and I'm like, all right, cool. So how are they going to tie everything together? At the end of the episode, we finally get Ming-Na Wen's character, Finnick, who meets him and, you know, and sees him. My question was the entire time that I was looking at the dialogue, and I was like, unless I missed something, how does she know he was there? Like, how does she know he arrived? Like, how does she know he would be there at that very moment? Like, those things and that attention to detail from me, the viewer, is like, it's not making sense to me right now. So I'm like, you know what? Now we have these 2 episodes coming up that
cool,
probably won't have too much to do with Boba. You know what I mean? Not to Boba, with Mando. It's you brought this episode in, and you know, granted, like I said, I love the direction that Dallas took with this. She killed it. She murdered it. I loved it. And she gave us she gave us a journey. She gave us something that was cohesive that we loved. Hell, I loved seeing the N1 Starfighter. I loved seeing the modified N1, you know, going through Beggar's Canyon. I love that.
I'll tell you something. I have the die cast. It's back here somewhere. Oh, here it is. So like, I bought this Naboo Starfighter. It's so dusty. I bought this 20 years ago.
Wow.
I've never put it together. It's actually die cast. It's die cast metal. And I'm like, you know, I was never a big fan of this. I really wasn't. But I'm so stoked to have this now. I'm like, well, there's a reason why, you know.
Basically, everything comes back around. But yeah, but my point is like, now we have these 2 episodes, and I'm afraid of where it's going to go.
They can't drop the ball on this.
They
on the next 2 episodes.
They cannot drop the ball in these next 2 episodes, and it's sad that we got to episode 5 to see this now, because we only have 2 episodes left. Like, a lot of this could have been, if we would, there's so many episodes before this that could have been skipped.
Well, like, I think the whole to be honest, I mean, I did like episode 2 when he's the sand people train, but it was all that was. I thought ultimately it was just this lazy riff on that story we've seen a million times before. Mm-hmm. You know, our modern guy comes in and teaches primitives to fight. Mm-hmm. You know, mm-hmm. But what I looked at this and I think to myself, I'm like, okay, Favreau and Filoni basically have control over Star Wars now. Mm-hmm. They can do whatever they want. Why didn't they make Mandalorian the Mandalorian series and the Book of Boba Fett and do it as one thing and intercut, like 1 week there's a Mandalorian episode, 1 week there's a Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, that would have been so cool.
And I mean, here's what I don't understand.
And then tie it together.
They have all of this power to do whatever they want. And I just feel like what they need is, and I say this, and I think every franchise in Hollywood, and God knows does Star Trek need this. Why isn't there someone, and it's become a cliche to say this, but where's the Kevin Feige in all of this? Mm-hmm. You know, I feel like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are fine with what they're doing. But what they don't have is they don't have someone who has a big picture that understands what I cannot impart to people enough. Yeah. How Kevin Feige worked on 13 different Marvel movies before he created or worked on the MCU. Yeah. He grew up a nerd, geek, whatever. He knew his Star Trek. He knows everything. Kevin Feige he's the only person in Hollywood like him that's ascended to the level of power he has. He is the most successful Hollywood producer in history. In history. And the reason is he already was a geek, nerd, whatever. He was exactly the kind of thing that Ivy League educated business people hate. And yet he worked at Richard Donner's company, he worked his way up. But he also worked on 13 Marvel movies and saw what worked and what didn't work. He saw all these different creators, all these different people come in and they all try and bring their visions. Well, Kevin Feige learned. He learned about one specific franchise, which was Marvel. And he's like, okay, I've seen what works and what doesn't. I've seen filmmakers know what they're doing and filmmakers that don't. I've seen people flounder and people that don't. And try to do things like what that Elektra movie was, don't fucking know. Never going to do that again. I like Jennifer Garner, but give me a break. Rob Bowman directed X-Files. I mean, it's cool, but it was... So what Star Wars, like Star Trek, desperately needs is somebody that knows all of this stuff. And when Jon Favreau is writing, can say, hey, John, this is great, but we've got... And they think that they have that. The problem with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni is they're creatives. They're creatives that are myopic in their creativity. There's somebody that needs to look over the problem is in Hollywood, you need somebody who's a filmmaker that is also a studio executive that can also oversee a franchise, and that doesn't exist. Kevin Feige is the only one that has ever existed. Even somebody like Jerry Bruckheimer is incredibly prolific and creative. He's like, I'm overseeing the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, but in his mind, he's not living and breathing Pirates of the Caribbean. He's a movie producer. Kevin Feige lives and breathes Marvel. That's what he's done for 2 decades. 2 decades. And more he's thought about it since he was a kid. The problem is there are probably other people in the world that could be in those positions. Like, if someone... I wish that my career amounted to something more than it has. Not that I'm disappointed with... But if I had worked on anything that was really commercially successful, I would have driven my career into being in someplace like it with Star Trek, because I feel the same. You've got all these disparate creators working on Star Trek, and there's no oversight anymore. Rick Berman, the reason Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, even Enterprise, you had one man who was overseeing all of it, and there was a uniformity to it. Some of it was better than others, of course. But Star Wars is desperately in need of someone that can actually talk to Filoni and Favreau and go like, look, guys, we can do better.
You know what? It's crazy because Filoni is closely connected to the IP to the point where he knows it like the back of his hand. But the problem is, I think so you have someone who knows it, you have someone who has the love for it, and you fuse it together because, like I said, the knowledge between the both of them can work. But I just think that in from a short, just basically to keep it short, I think that they are getting too far ahead of themselves, man. Like, I mean, they're just getting in the way of themselves. They're in the way of like the execs from the execs, from the producers, from it's like they're getting in the way. Like they're in the way of great storytelling and source material that's actually there. Now, look, nobody's telling you that you have to take the source material and adapt it into like live action and stuff like that, but you have it there, and you have all these characters that you can actually play with. You've developed new characters that you can actually play with, and you gave us some very interesting new characters that we love. So, I mean, you have that. So I think it can be utilized, but I just think that they're really getting in their own way. And it's like, like people basically are pointing fingers. I hear this all the time, like, and I see it a lot. Everyone's talking about, it's Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kennedy, it's her, she's doing this. Okay, look. a lot of one of the biggest mistakes that they've made is they've publicized all the mistakes that they've made. Literally. Like literally, everything has been publicized. How many directors that they've actually gone through, writers who have left, they've publicized everything. If none of this was publicized, if we didn't know what was going on behind the scenes, no one would be pointing that finger and saying it's all Kathleen Kennedy and this, that, and the third. But it's because it's being publicized. We see this stuff played out.
I have to say, Shan Kumar, who's a member of the channel, says, here's a thought: hire George Lucas to be the Feige equivalent of Star Wars. I have to say something. George Lucas does not understand why the audience loves Star Wars so much. He doesn't get it. He does not get, he doesn't understand. And remember, George Lucas thinks that Star Wars is for kids. He always did. And here's the thing. Great storytellers, it doesn't matter what genre you're working in, whether it's the crime thrillers of Martin Scorsese, whether you're doing Christopher Nolan stuff, Spielberg stuff. Great storytelling does not matter what genre you're working in. All great storytelling is understanding basic human truths. All storytelling is about doing one thing, and that is conveying the human experience to the audience. What does it mean to be human? What does it mean? And people say, well, Rob, this takes place in a galaxy a long time ago, far, far away. It's not about humans. Everything is about humans. All storytelling is about humans. It doesn't matter whether there's aliens or superheroes or fairies or orcs, whatever the fuck you want. It's all about the human experience. And what we need are people that, what was so interesting about Star Wars was it truly was a collaboration. George Lucas was making a kids movie. His wife, Marcia Lucas, who was an Academy Award-winning editor, came in and said, no, we have to add gravitas to this. And they, if you look at a lot of the deleted scenes and everything, all that stuff was cut out. Star Wars, if you look at it, especially the original version, is a very elegant film. It might be a fantasy fairy tale, but it never betrays its characters or its story. It doesn't get colloquial. It doesn't get stupid. You know, it's classical, absolutely. And the idea that you make 3PO and R2 are right out of the farmers in the Hidden Fortress. They're right out of Hidden Fortress. If you haven't seen Kurosawa's Hidden Fortress, you will be shocked when you see the wipes in the frame.
Related they are.
And but the thing about it is, what's so great about R2 and 3PO is they're so incongruous to the environment they're in. You're watching these spaceships, and all of a sudden, 3PO is a proper English butler. You know, did you hear, a prissy, and R2 is beeping, and it's all amazing the way it all came together. But if you look at it, if you go back, especially, you have to look at the original version of Star Wars, because the special edition, the visual effects, they betray the reality of it. They couldn't have done it there, so the classical framing and everything is disrupted. The original Star Wars, and I'm not just saying it because, well, that's what I grew up with. No, it was the intent and what they were doing and what they had to work with. The original Star Wars is a beautifully made film. The compositions they went with, all the stupid shit was cut out, and it works beautifully. And I think that what we are missing from Star Wars and Star Trek is the people that are making Star Trek and Star Wars, they're too much into the Star Wars and Star Trek of it all, and they're not as much into the human truths of it. Yeah. And they're giving us too many stories about Star Wars itself, as opposed strip away all of the Star Wars accoutrements or whatever. Take all of it away. The story has to be great. You have to be telling a great human story. If you're going to tell a story of a bounty hunter that becomes a crime lord, it better work in any universe, not just the Star Wars universe. And I feel that that's what's in everyone who's trying to tell these stories. None of them really understand these universes, and Dave Filoni only understands the Star Wars universe. I'm like, Dave, you need to watch some Fellini. or some Godard or some Antonioni or some Kurosawa, watch those movies. Those are the movies you need. You already know the Star Wars lore, but you need to learn now. How do you tell us the Godfather in the Star Wars universe? Because that's what we need.
We do. And it's ironic because you're both making such good points about this. You know, we know something's wrong because episodes 1 through 4, when compared to 5, it's such a dramatic difference. You know, the lack of emotional response to episodes 1 to 4 when you compare it to episode 5 is dramatic. I mean, Din essentially, and this is how I feel about it, Din brought sexy back to the Book of Boba because he walks in wearing his armor, strutting his stuff, going into this kitchen. It's not kitchen capers.
And look at how he's shot too. That long tracking shot. It's
yes. He's in this incredible world, and Lael and I have talked about this ad nauseum, but I can talk about this like forever. He's on this incredible world. He gets this bounty and he slices the guy's head off. He beheads the guy, carries it around in a bag, like limping from an injury that he inflicted on himself. And nothing is stopping this man. He keeps going. You know, sorry for the spoilers, guys, but he finds the Enclave, the new Enclave, and the armorer is there meditating, almost as if she's waiting for him. But he doesn't stop there, because as soon as he gets healed, it's like another sucker punch, because somebody's like, oh, you're healed now? Great. I want that Darksaber, punk. We're going to fight for it. You know, I'm going to knock you out. Like, I still think that Heavy Mando would have kicked his butt, but it was so good to see somebody challenged Din, because Din doesn't have it easy. He's like, has the school of hard knocks too, like what we thought Boba had growing up, seeing him like always having to fight for just even the simplest thing, and seeing Din get knocked down and pushed around, and then that quick pro where she's like, did you take your helmet off? Did you take your helmet off? You know, like it's like so satisfying to see, you know, he's gonna say, yeah, I took it off, but it was just so good, because you know she struck a nerve, and now he has to go off and do all sorts of stuff, and it just, the whole thing was just so, I liked the passion of it, I liked the aggressiveness of it, I liked the fighting in it. He had to go and take the bus to Tatooine, you know, like there was just like so many fun, quirky, interesting things. And, you know, we could see the difference. We knew right away that this had a very different tone from what we saw in episodes 1 through 4. And we can't ignore that. Like, we can't pretend like 1 through 4 had the same level of intensity that episode 5 had.
Here's my problem with both Mandalorian and Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett. Everything that we like about it is a riff on something from another movie that isn't Star Wars. And I'll tell you, this scene when Din's taking off all of his, you can't take any weapons here, that was right out of Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. There's a scene when Mad Max goes into Bartertown and he walks up to I forget the character's name, but he has to relinquish all his weapons. And he pulls out all these weapons and gives them. And I'm like, I get it. I feel like both of these shows, and I like them, but I feel like all we're doing is getting rehashed versions of scenes from other movies. And we're not getting anything that's original. And I think that's a problem with both Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. It's like, okay, wow, he's going to teach the Tuskens how to use technology or whatever. We've seen this a million times before in so many different movies. Now we're going to see the Cliff's Notes versions in Book of Boba Fett. And when I'm watching this, I'm like, I've already seen this. And now I'm going to see it in the Star Wars universe. But why? I already know how it's going to go. And I feel like when I'm watching this, I'm like, guys, you know, when Coppola made Godfather, he said, this movie is not about the mafia. It's set in the world of the mafia. But really, it's about a king and his 3 sons. So I feel like what I'm watching now, I feel like our modern Star Wars is, and look, George Lucas was doing samurai stories, but his frothy mix felt unique. But when I see Boba Fett roll into town, or he's rescued by the Tuskens or whatever, and I'm like, oh, he's chained up. It's a little gladiator. It's a little this. You can actually go, it's this, and to the point where they're not even mixing it up enough. Like they haven't made the Tusken Raiders. I mean, they gave us the Aboriginal dream time, which is fine. That's great. Okay. But I feel like we're not getting anything. The writing is not creative enough to give us the kind of spin on these tropes that we need. And that's what I feel the audience is frustrated by. They're like, okay, we get it. We already understand. And now we're going to have a big action sequence on a train. It's just a hover train. And it's like, we kind of saw that in Solo as well. And so we're getting an action scene that's an action scene that's an action scene from a movie, and then even a Star Wars movie, and now we're getting it again. And even the Bill Burr scene in Mandalorian when he takes out the Imperial officer, I mean, we've seen that too. That felt like something Quentin Tarantino would have written. Like the scene in True Romance when Christopher Walken is facing off against Dennis Hopper or something. You know, that's what I object to. When I watched Star Wars and Empire, I didn't feel I was seeing a repeat of 5 different movies I'd already seen and done not as well as the movies I had seen. And I feel that that's the frustrating part about this show. They've certainly got all the... And why is Tatooine the center of the universe?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Leo.
No, I when I'm looking at it, I mean, I know I get the simple fact that they want to give us what's familiar to entice audiences that they want to bring in the old, they want to bring in the new, they want to kind of tie it together. I get all that. I completely understand it. And I'm on point with that. I mean, so let me point something out real quick, because I don't want, the biggest thing is I don't want everybody to think that we are completely against, or I'm completely against what was done, because
no, but let me
I love go ahead, what are you gonna say?
Well, real quick, how cool was it to see a new Star Wars environment in that Mandalorian episode?
And see, that's
so good.
And that's what I'm talking about when it comes to what Bryce Dallas did. What she did,
man.
And even the one thing, the key points when I'm looking at what she did with this story, number one is she asked the right questions and she did some research. Literally, and she took all the ideas and she took what she learned from the episodes that she directed of Mandalorian and brought us her own unique twist to the character. Like, she gave us something that I thought was some of the biggest things that I loved about this episode was the scenes where there was no music at all. Like, none. There was no music. It was just simple tones, things that you heard, environment, all that. You didn't hear music. You didn't hear any type of score. It was moments that you didn't hear a thing. You just saw his reflection of his relationship with Grogu when he was on the actual train or on the transport. The walk, basically when he was trying to find the cove. Just all of that I loved about it. But it was just even certain emotional beats that and here's the thing, what she brought out and what they brought out and bring out with this character, when we don't need him to take off his helmet to see the emotion in this character. We don't. The biggest problem that I'm having with Boba is that every time he talks, he has to take off his helmet to have that facial interaction, and then he puts it back on. Like, I'm literally like, how many times and even him, Tamora Morrison himself said, like, look, Boba doesn't have to take his helmet off and talk this much. And that's the one thing, the biggest gripe that he had. But what I'm saying is, with this particular episode, at least I love the attempt that she actually gave us with this film. She gave us a fresh new look. She gave us something that, at least connected us to the lore. She brought us basically back into what we loved about these live action interpretations, not even the films, but the Disney Plus shows.
Yeah.
It's just the simple fact that now what we're running into and the problem that we're running into now is that it shouldn't take one character. It shouldn't fall. It shouldn't fall on the shoulders of the Mandalorian character to carry the weight of another show when he has his own. You know what I mean? Like it shouldn't. It
No, I
shouldn't
know.
take something. It shouldn't take something familiar for us to be on board to say, okay, now I'm with it. No, because the thing is, it's like you're crippling the potential to expand on this particular or on Boba himself, to expand on that, to give us evolution of that character, so we can see, okay, if you're taking us on this trip and you want, or taking us on this journey with this character, and you want us to go on this journey, you want to see the change, you want to see his struggles, you want to then stick to that character and give us that evolution, but actually give us more meat and start take out the silly bullshit that we don't really need. Like that whole kitchen scene pissed me off. Like we really didn't need that.
That diminished his character. I mean, the whole thing about I watched it was like Keystone Cops, and I wondered. I mean, this is a Disney animation thing. By the way, I just want to say that Darth Plato, who's a VIP member here, says, "It sounds to me that the Godfather story is a modern take of Charlemagne and his three sons. That could very well be the truth." But like you're saying, Lael, and to me, that scene in the kitchen, I don't think I've seen a scene that diminished a character more in a long time. Yeah. And I am a huge fan of character-based humor. That was slapstick Keystone Cops, and all it did was seek to, if you want to do something like that, the thing about that is it made that little droid the hero of the scene.
It was so weird when he proclaims to the droid that he is Boba Fett. Like it was so
you didn't need to
weird.
Tell him that. Like it had no balance, no weight to that scene at all. Like
I mean,
it made no sense.
Marsha Lucas, if she was editing the show, she would have said, get rid of all that.
Yeah,
and she would have cut all that out. And this is a difficult thing for a lot of people to understand. I see this more and more and more. The tone of what you're doing and the tone of these shows is very difficult to get correct because you're dealing with unbelievable fantasy and craziness. But, it's the difference between one of the reasons, and a lot of people say, well, Rob, I hate Return of the Jedi.
Someone said that scene looked like Ratatouille, Yeah,
I mean, it's like, and the reason I dislike
Ishvan Kumar said that.
Well, I dislike Return of the Jedi because from the very beginning of the movie, when you see the it's like the guy that's running the Death Star 2 is like, the Emperor is coming here. That is correct, Commander. And he is most displeased with your lack of progress. We saw the first Death Star run by Grandma fucking Tarkin. That guy is a fucking badass. And they've got this namby-pamby butterball British functionary running the Death Star 2. And he's like, the Emperor's coming here. Yeah, dude, the Emperor might show up. He's got a throne room you built for him. He's gonna come there. I want to see somebody like Grand Moff Tarkin, who's a fucking badass, but he's a sniveling functionary who's scared of everyone. I'm like, why are you commanding the Death Star then? Yeah. And when you do that, you undercut your universe, your characters, and the story that you're telling. Yeah. And I don't think that they understood why that was the case. Right. And I feel that a lot of what's going on in Book of Boba Fett is they've undercut everyone by the really bad way of telling these stories, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah, not something that we actually expected. And you set precedence of this character. You basically set up this character and what was to come, and what we believe what was going to actually come in Mandalorian. Basically what was it? Was it the tragedy? The episode, the tragedy.
Right.
So you set us up for something, and you made us. You set the expectation. You set the expectation in us to see something great from this particular character.
Yep.
Not knowing that after the final episode of season 2, I didn't see that end credit scene coming. I didn't know that. I mean, we knew that there was going to be something involving Boba, but I didn't know there was going to be the Book of Boba. There was going to actually be a series. I
Oh
didn't
yeah.
see that coming. I had
Nope.
no idea. So you set the expectation with the tragedy, and I thought going into this, okay, yeah, we're going to see why. You know what I mean? He's a badass. You know what I mean? And what we expect from him. And
I
you
mean,
like the interpretation of what everybody's been saying lately is true. You literally
yeah.
neutered this character.
And I thought that I thought the Book of Boba Fett was gonna be the book that he was left, that was given to Boba by his father, the book that had all the instructions of what to do, you know, and where to go. And like he would write, you know, messages in this book to whoever his descendants would be. And it's like something that was passed down. I thought
that would have been
what it was
interesting
gonna
as
be like.
hell. That would have been interesting as hell if he actually had a journal, his father's journal
Yeah.
of his journeys and certain things that helped him along the way. You know what I mean?
I mean,
It would have made sense.
I thought he does actually have that, you know, like from what they say, you know, like according to the lore. So that's what I was expecting. It makes sense. That book would be the book that Boba Fett would make, and then he would put whatever he needs to put in there for his, you know, descendant to follow, because he's going to leave the armor to someone. I mean, this is something else that I am very curious about. The lineage was so important to him, so there has to be someone he's leaving this armor to. Well, who the hell is it? You know, like there must be some story about this, and it kind of would make sense if we were enlightened to that. So that was something else that we haven't gotten an answer to, and I feel like we probably need an answer.
Well, I just feel that, like, look, it's frustrating when I watch a show like Ozark, where in 7 episodes in this season, it's positively apocalyptic. The way they've done, move the pieces around. And I look at something like The Queen's Gambit. Nothing to do with Star Wars, but the writing was great.
Yeah.
You know, and what I want is, I feel that as we watch, we all know, watching Book of Boba Fett, it's all over the place. It's so, and it doesn't feel, this is so weird to say, but it doesn't feel authentic to a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And I felt that way about Mandalorian too. I thought Mandalorian was very hit and miss. Some of it I thought was really great. Some of it I thought was rather lackluster. And it's almost as if they want to skate by on their Star Wars tropes. And I'm like, guys, forget all that. You know, don't try and write Star Wars. Write King of New York. Pick your favorite, right back to, well, not time travel. You know what? There's some super chats I'd love to get through because there's a lot of them coming in. And the first, if you don't mind, this is a great conversation. I don't mean to interrupt it, but there's a lot of people that have. So Paul, Twin Flicks, Paul says, hey, Rob and Lael, tie trip that will never die. Triptych that will never die. Just a heads up, our interview with William Wisher, co-writer of Terminator 2, is launched. Please tell the audience who he is, as many may not know. William Wisher wrote Terminator 2. He also wrote the original Sylvester Stallone Judge Dredd, which I have a very long story for, and I wish I could have talked to you guys before you did that, but he's a great guy. It was one of the best interviews we've done. He had a wealth of knowledge and experience to share, including what happened to Judge Dredd. Oh, well, then I guess you did talk to him about that, because I have a story about that, too. Here's a link. Thanks, bud. Well, here is the link to that William Wisher interview. I'll put it in the live chat, so that's good. Watch that. I'm sure that it's a great interview.
Looking forward to that.
RTNZ said, hail, Rob, Lael, and any of you heard the Critical Drinkers, recent stream on female representation in film? Amazing discussion, and the Drinkers persona slips, so we hear Will's real views on life. I saw that. I haven't watched it. I love Drinkers streams when he's talking about storytelling. Have you guys seen it?
No, I haven't watched it yet. No.
I haven't watched it at all yet. No, not at all.
Swack Props, the great Cal, says, the Armorer says Mandalorian steel is meant for armor, not weapons. Remind me again of what she used to make the whistling bird darts in season 1. Ooh. Yeah. That's that Cal. When they say stuff like that, I have to say, steel is meant for armor. When someone says that, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense at all. And that's the kind of stuff that does take me out of it. So you're not wrong. Lizzie Venus asks a good question because there's been a lot of talk about retconning things. Lizzie says or asks, do any of you think there will be the introduction of time travel or a multiverse within the Star Wars franchise? Could the sequels be reimagined? That's a theory that's been going around for a long time. What do you guys think?
Well, they already introduced it. That was introduced in Rebels.
Yep.
Worlds Between Worlds. You know what I mean? So it was a notion that a lot of people wanted to introduce in live action because they felt as though it was a good way to course correct a lot of things. I think if they would go that route? Probably not.
Please not. Please don't.
You know, I don't think they would. I don't think that's something that they would actually do. We've seen in certain movies that time travel doesn't really sit well. But I mean, I don't think that. Look, all they have to do is tell a good story. They don't have to rely on anything else, but just tell a good story and take your time to write a good story. To be quite honest, that's all you need is to write a good story and write something that's uniquely different from, and don't draw on other ideas. Create your own. Plain and simple.
Yeah, and the problem with this is that relying on the time travel situation is that it can be used over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I'm not particularly fond of the notion of it because it just means that you can keep going back and kind of retconning the entire series. Yeah. So I don't really like that idea. I think that, you can find yourself in a lot of trouble. Pretty much everything that you did before can be completely undone and you can keep redoing it over and over and over again. I don't like that idea of changing a story to that level. And that's what it can, the possibilities for it is endless, but I don't like that. I like what's happened and that's pretty much the end of the story. And, it's kind of like what they really did with some of the Marvel stuff, being able to go back in time and change things around, 5 years had passed, but now we can go back and change it. And I understand that was the story they did. And, of course I watched it, I enjoyed it, but I don't want another incident where they go back and someone comes back and changes things back. I'm not particularly entertained by the thought of going back again,
Yeah.
No, I don't like that either. And the Star Wars universe with time travel, I know they had to look again, this idea of a multiverse concept was introduced pretty much in DC Comics. Flash of Two Worlds. If you want to go back and look at it, the Jay Garrick Flash and the Barry Allen Flash. I get all that.
Yeah.
I like that. My favorite thing when I was a kid, because the only comic I collected was Justice League, every year, the Justice League and the Justice Society would meet, Earth 1 and Earth 2. And there was a 30-year difference. And I loved those. I lived for those crossovers. Mm-hmm. But they would do it once a year. It was a fun thing to do. It was cool on my life. Now, I mean, I'm really hoping, and we'll know, like, I really thought that Spider-Man No Way Home used the multiverse concept in a really interesting way because the other two Peter Parkers, they stripped Tom Holland of everything because it basically, you realize, as an origin story, everything from Avengers Civil War or Captain America Civil War to the Infinity Conflict, Infinity Saga, to the 3 Spider-Man movies, led to Tom Holland's Spider-Man was given a different origin story where he had all of these things and they were all stripped from him more than the other Peter Parkers that were based on Uncle Ben's death.
Yeah.
He had a whole realm, a whole life die. And I thought it was ultimately great. And the brotherhood of these Spider-Men was surprisingly moving.
Yeah.
And it used the multiverse in a really great way, a human way.
Yeah.
And it mattered. Now, we'll see with the Multiverse of Madness. I think it's going to go one of two ways. I hope they figure, well, we're just going to put in a bunch of cameos and it's going to be... The cameos in Spider-Man No Way Home worked.
They fit.
They fit
the narrative.
And if you, there's a great interview that Pete Hammond did on Deadline, where he interviewed all three of them, and it's a pretty great interview. It's like half an hour long, and you hear their stories and why they did it, and ultimately, they did a good job. I mean, the heart and soul of that movie is the scenes with the. As a matter of fact, there should have been a lot more of those scenes with the three of them in the movie. I understand there was a lot more going on, but it had heart. You know, it mattered. It wasn't a gimmick. They turned the gimmick into something that added to all of their characters. It gave closure to Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, and it pushed Tom Holland's Spider-Man into realms, more adult realms you couldn't have foreseen. So it worked really, really well.
Yeah.
I don't think Star Wars needs that. It would be terrible, I think.
Yeah.
Time travel and multiverse stuff, it would not be great. The problem is when Disney bought Star Wars, they did not have anyone, and don't blame Kathleen Kennedy for this. It makes me crazy.
Nah, don't do
People who don't understand how movies are made, Kathleen Kennedy is a producer who facilitates what other creative people do. That's what great producers do.
Yeah.
They find the great creative people and they provide them with all the things they need to create.
Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy is not supposed to step in and tell. She's worked with the best directors in Hollywood. She's not going to step in and tell Steven Spielberg how to make his movie. That's not her job.
Yeah.
You know, and she did what she could. She's tried to hire. She actually made amazing choices. Lord and Miller to do Solo, but she figured, but then Lawrence Kasdan's like, they're not even shooting my script. They're making stuff up. They improvise. They're comedy directors. And that was something that maybe wasn't the best fit, but at least she doesn't get enough credit for thinking out of the box.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question, because you touched on something just now that I wanted to kind of, expand on. Lawrence Kasdan.
Yeah.
And this might be unpopular opinion, though, but I think over the years his writing took a detour.
Dude, I agree.
It took a detour, bro. Like I saw that with what he did in, what he's actually done with the sequels, even some of what he actually did with the prequels. Like the writing, it took a decline from what we got in the original trilogy.
Sorry, I need some popcorn. I need some.
A lot of people probably would disagree, but I think that his writing took a decline. Even though, like I said, and you're talking to a fan, I am a super duper fan of Star Wars. I grew up with this. I love it. It just, it literally has possessed me for years.
Dude, he was the man who wrote the Final Empire script.
Yeah. And I'm like, literally for him, or when you say Lord Miller took a totally different approach and didn't follow his scheme, maybe they felt the same way. Maybe a lot of these people felt the same way. Like it just needed more. It needed something else. And that's the thing, is like they need to give, when you hire people on because you see the talent, give them a chance. Give them a chance.
Well, I think the real problem, I think three of my favorite filmmaking books ever are Rinsler's, rest in peace, his books about making Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi. Mm-hmm. Those books are essential reading.
Yeah.
Especially Empire, because George Lucas does not like Empire Strikes Back. And there's a lot of reasons why.
Wow.
But if you read the stories in that book, it was very funny because George Lucas went to USC and Irvin Kershner was one of his professors. Mm-hmm. And he hired him to write it. Well, Kershner shot Empire in a lot of master shots and did not give George a lot of coverage. George is an editor. He makes things up. If you read what he did with Phantom Menace, because of his digital technology, he was literally replacing takes, mixing and matching using computer technology, and which is crazy because then you're taking out the human element. You're removing a performance when you can, and that's fine, whatever. But if you read the making of Empire and everything that happened, and to me, Star Wars could have been a one-off. If Empire didn't work, there would be no Star Wars franchise. The fact is, Empire extrapolated and expanded on the franchise in ways that, aside from the characters, everything was new. Every vision we saw, even the way that we saw the characters, they didn't wear the same clothes. They were all different.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
Yeah.
And Empire might be one of the greatest sequels ever made because it extrapolated, expanded, and enriched the universe of the first movie.
Bro, can I say real quick, one of my favorite lines will always be from this film. One of my favorite scenes of all time in any film is when he's about to go in the cave and he said, "What's in there?" And Yoda said, "Only what you take with you." Bro, that line itself, like literally, come on. Like that is good stuff. Just that scene right there is great storytelling, and it's a journey, and it just gets you so enticed, bro.
Well, what you just pointed out, nothing that Luke does with Yoda on Dagobah has anything to do with the original Star Wars. It's completely different. Yeah. It is not repeating anything. Yeah. It's not people, well, he's another mentor like Ben Kenobi. No. It's totally different, a whole different thing. And then you get to Jedi, and it's like, well, we're going to show you another Death Star. Well, we're going to show you like things you've seen before, the idea, and ultimately the stories are, and I get it, but it's not. Yeah. It's unfortunate. Star Wars is a very interesting thing. It created a universe and a mythology we love the world over, but there hasn't been a lot of great Star Wars made. Yeah. In my mind, I would dare say there's been really two great films, Star Wars and Empire. People can like Jedi, whatever you grew up with. I like Rogue One, but Rogue One does not jibe. The end of it does not jibe with Star Wars. If you think about it, it makes really no sense. Yeah. Wait, where are they going? Like what? We have to go find. We're gonna go find Ben Kenobi on Tatooine. What does that have to do with the plans you just stole? Like where? What? Why don't you go back to Yavin or go someplace where what? It's so weird. It doesn't work. That's fine. But the idea of getting the plans, that was a sound. Men with a mission, or men and women and aliens with a mission. Guns of Navarone, loved it. And by the way, the greatest space battle in the Star Wars galaxy is in that movie. The Battle of Scarif is fucking great. Yeah, it's incredible. It's so great. We got some incredible, like literally, we got some incredible troopers that we have never seen before because they took risks. You know, that's what we actually got the shore troopers. That's what we got the death troopers. You know, and that's what we got the tank troopers, like the tank commander. You know what I mean? That's what we actually got K2SO. They took risk and gave us certain things. I loved the story of the Wills, the religion itself and where they could have actually gone. If anything, give me a Disney Plus story of that. Because it's so rich. Like it's so many stories that you can get out of that. Telling the stories of like their belief, because their belief in the Force, you know what I mean? They're not Jedi, but their belief in the Force. They believe in the Force. They study another element, another side of the Force.
I feel that way about the Night Sisters on Darkmere. I feel like they use the Force as a religion. And, their whole approach to understanding the Force, just like what you're saying, Liel, is so different from, imagine being sort of, brought up, just continually using it as a tool for practically everything. Yeah. For transforming an individual, like to have that kind of power. We really haven't seen anything like that before. Yeah. If anybody could, raise anybody up from existing or changing them dramatically, the Night Sisters seem to be able to do stuff like that. And it's really very incredible. I mean, it's just unbelievable how they were. The funny thing about it was that the episode that they did that in, they called it Monster, but if they're capable of doing something like that, monster wise, they could probably do anything if they put, their abilities to it. It's really incredible. And they mentioned the Night Sisters, which I haven't heard anybody really mentioned very much about them in live action in the Book of Boba Fett, and I got really excited when they said that, because I had no idea that the Night Sisters even rode, Rancors or Mythosaurs or whatever they rode. I didn't even know that about them. There's so much about their lore that I really want to learn more. And a live action series with that would be just unbelievable.
I think anything that's been in animation, whether it's Clone Wars or Rebels, or it's all fair game, and we're going to see it all manifest. And they're picking and choosing from legends, the comic shows and the novels, and that's pretty cool. I just wish the writing was better. That's by the way, Stubble McShave says, if Bryce Dallas Howard would do a Solo 2 movie, I'd like to see an adaptation of Scoundrels. It could easily be set pre-episode 4. It's basically Ocean's 11 Star Wars style. Han, Lando, Chewie, and a band of scoundrels are doing a heist against the Imperial Moff, or an Imperial Moff. I would say that could be cool. I mean, look, you could do a million stories set in the Star Wars universe. You could do that. But I want to see, I like the idea that Star Wars is connected. If we're going to see stories, they're connected to larger, not necessarily trilogies, but larger narratives. Like the Boba Fett narrative encompasses Tatooine, Mandalore, Geonosis, Camino. If you look at his whole history, there's a whole, and whatever his bounty hunting, go back to the anthology Tales of the Bounty Hunters, where you find out that IG-88 was about to take over the Death Star 2 before it was destroyed. Yeah. I'm like, damn, I would have loved to have seen that.
Something else I want to mention is that we saw, and you guys already mentioned this, we saw A Night of 1,000 Tears, and the graphic that they used, and I think we all agree, was reminiscent of Skynet. But I, for a long time, K2SO was like my Grail figure, because I was never able to buy it when it came out, and now
me neither.
We saw it, in the episode, and for the first time ever, like, I was afraid of K2SOs. I've never been afraid of them before, because that character was just so impressive in Rogue One, and now I'm terrified of them, and so I really have to get one now.
I just wish I had my old die-cast TIE bomber from Empire. Oh, look at that.
Oh, I love it, Leia.
Look at that, man. That is, oh my God.
Man. I just love that so much.
This thing is incredible, bro.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. I mean, and it's big, right, Leal?
Yeah. It's pretty tall. It's pretty tall. Like,
wow. It's just so incredible. I mean, his personality. Was it Taika who did it? Was it Taika?
No. It was I keep forgetting his name.
No, it's Alan Tudyk.
Alan Tudyk. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, thank you. I just think that he was such an incredible character, and it just came through so well. His personality and the way he felt about things. What an incredible AI. I just really love him.
But watching them wreck shop on Mandalore was pretty dope.
Yes, their eyes were glowing like that. I was so scared. And then you saw the communication droids too, hovering over them as they were kind of pushing through in the red glowing fire and flames of the destruction.
But even that, like you said, it's just reminiscent of Skynet. It's like, I wish they would do something different, like Imperial droids doing something different than what we saw in the Terminator movies.
Yeah.
Why do they have to repeat iconography we've seen in something else? The whole thing about Star Wars was, when Star Wars first came out, people don't remember this, but no one had ever seen anything like it.
Yeah.
And even though it was an amalgamation of things that had been touched on, but visually, no one had seen anything like it. And when I'm watching the scene where the what are they called? Imperial battle droids? What are they?
You mean,
what is K2SO's official, like? Is he what?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what.
Lael, what kind of a droid is he?
K2. K2.
Lael, what kind of a droid is K2SO? What's he called? A battle droid? What's Imperial? What?
I have to look it up. I don't know.
It's okay. So, because the names are just so they're different. He's not. They're like a they're battle droids, but at the same time, like they're sentient. Like they actually have their own agenda. Like they're not. You know what I mean? They're sort of like
they're not drones.
They're enforcers.
They're security droids.
No.
Yeah, they're security enforcers.
The only reason I say that is because the imagery in the episode of Mandalorian is very Terminator 2 or Terminator 1, the whole future Earth.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Very intentional, but when I see that, I'm like, it's like Terminator 2.
Yeah.
And that was my first thought. I'm like, no. I want to see the Star Wars spin on this.
Yeah.
Do something different, new, and unique. What is different? I mean, Star Wars should set the tone.
Yeah.
I
was just super happy that we got a chance to see the Knights of 1,000 Tears. That we actually got a chance to see that. You know, I mean, watching, you know, basically the
brutal, by the way.
Yeah, and watching the TIE bombers, you know, just fly over and just completely obliterate that command center, like just completely.
And there were thousands of them. That was pretty. I was like, all right.
And they destroyed it. And then basically seeing the security droids, seeing the K2s basically just walking through. And it's like the bodies were laying there, but they were making sure they were dead by just shooting them. You know what I mean? Like that is what I wanted to see. And I'm so glad we got a chance to see that. Yep. And like you said in the very beginning, I think what's happening right now, especially with, you know, we have Mando, we have Boba, you know, we basically have which I guess they're going to touch on in season. They could, you know what, they might not wait until season 3 of Mando. They could touch on that within the next couple of episodes. There's a very it's a high possibility we can actually see, you know, Bo-Katan, Koska Reeves show up in a couple of episodes coming. Because the thing is, we know that she is closely in her agenda and her drive is to get that saber so she can reclaim Mandalore. That's what she wants to do. But I don't think that it's within her grasp anymore. I don't. I think that time has passed because she can't be trusted with it. You know what I mean? They look at her as like a running joke right now, a parody. So I think that, you know, but like you said, it's a team up to see. And here's the thing. It would be such a tragedy if it's a team up. We get to season 3 of Mando and we never know. What if Boba dies? You know what I mean? What if what if there's such a tragedy that we lose some of these characters because of that actual siege and them going back to Mandalore to try to take it back? I can actually say I'd be cool with that because at least I'm seeing something that draws me in.
Dude, that should be the movie. I mean, all of this should be like the Star Wars movie of the retaking of Mandalore. That's the movie they should make. They should be leading up to all this, but you know, whatever. That's just me. Swack Props says, Cal says, Star Wars is for kids is a lame excuse used to justify bad writing. And I believe it no longer holds water, especially when in the latest episode, Mando slices a person in half and then carries his severed head in a bag. Definitely not for kids. Can't argue with that. I mean, it's very interesting. I find it interesting that our entertainment now, you can cut off someone's head, but you can't show a blood-soaked rag that you're carrying it around in. It has to be very neutral colors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, Lael, did you hear that? You heard the whole...
Yes, I did.
So what do you think? I mean, and Mando is carrying...
The thing is, remember in Star Wars, and I'm talking about Star Wars, not New Hope, but Star Wars. Remember when, Dr.
Evazan
and Kenobi sliced off the arm, and we saw blood. Yeah, like it was blood at that particular point, and it was there. It wasn't. That wasn't for kids then. You know what I mean?
But it was. I mean, here's the thing. What I find so strange.
Yeah.
the infantilization of our children. I mean, I used to love, when I was a kid, Grimm's fairy tales. Like, we used to tell the most horrible stories about kids, so kids would know that the adult world is terrible. That's what fairy tales were for. It was to prepare kids for the horrors of adulthood.
Yeah, exactly.
And now everybody wants to scrub away any kind of controversy or any weirdness about, well, we want to make sure our children don't they don't and it's like, are you kidding me?
Man, listen, when you watch a kid, especially the kids around in this household, when they're basically playing that game Roadblock, and you watch some of the stuff that they're looking at on those games, I'm like, yeah, no, violence is not the issue anymore. Stop playing. It's not. It's not. I understand that you want to preserve their childhood, but they're seeing stuff far worse.
I mean, and I think that's the problem, is we're still trying to pretend all of this stuff isn't happening.
Yeah.
And yet we haven't lived in a world where, kids are torn asunder. We celebrated a couple days ago International Holocaust Remembrance Day.
Right.
And it's like, the thing that used to freak me out as someone who's raised Jewish, the thing that I thought was so I couldn't wrap my head around is that you might live in a house that is in your family for 200 years, and you might be a pillar of the community. And the very community that you live in, one day people just decide you're not a human being anymore. Mm-hmm. And the house that you've had for centuries, it's not yours.
Yeah.
We're gonna your own country's government marches in and says, not only do you not own your house, you're not even a human being. You're now put this yellow star on and march down here, and you have 5 minutes to get whatever you want to carry. I mean, that happened. It happened to kids, and then those kids were put to death. And it's like, why is it that we can't deal with that and tell children about the world at large? And it would protect them so they can armor up to be aware of what might happen. By the way, that's depressing. We don't want to talk about that, but it happens.
Life is there.
Twin Flicks says, I hated how they ruined Fennec's badassery now that we know she has bot parts. I wish she was just a badass without help from bot parts or not parts. I have to say, I didn't like that either.
Yeah.
And then they make her insides like some hydraulic, I am a mechanical man. I mean, it.
Well, she had that in season 2 of Mando, so we saw that. I mean, but that definitely didn't take away from her badassery, because, like I said, we saw that. We saw what she was well capable of in the final episode. We saw what she was well capable of in the tragedy. I just think, you know what? It's okay, because we know that we've had modification in the Star Wars universe for so long. But I just think the execution in that episode was completely out of whack. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't. Somebody said this, before. It was like, if you stick to not making it, trying to make it so modern, then people can gravitate it. Like, they can gravitate towards it a bit more. Trying to make it too modern, you just take us out of the universe itself. You know what I mean? Because then you're instead of expanding the universe, you're shrinking it by doing that, because you're trying to make it too modern.
But you looked like steampunk, these giant pistons and stuff in her stomach, and they're you're not going to close me up.
Yeah.
So the rest of her internal organs are just open to the air.
Yeah.
It is weird. It's weird. I'm sorry.
It was super weird how they did it, and that's what I'm saying. The execution. That's why, because you even see, in the tragedy, she covered it up herself. It's like, I'm not going to walk around with just mechanical parts exposed. You know what I mean? But yeah, again though, we got to keep in mind, we are talking about Robert Rodriguez here. So what he couldn't actually do in Alita Battle Angel 2, he implemented a lot of that stuff in this season, literally.
Oh yeah.
Definitely he did.
But here's one of the things I find frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
The first time we see an artificial limb realized in the Star Wars universe is in Empire.
Yeah.
Yes.
Luke gets his hand back, and you're looking at small pistons. It was kind of clever. Steampunk, it seems fine. What is it? I forget. It's 21B. Closes up Luke's wrist.
Yeah.
I bought it. I'm like, okay, well, that's cool.
It was done well.
It was done well, and that made sense.
It
and
looked like a real hand.
Yeah, yes. When I look at Fennec Shand with her open chest, I'm like, it looks like giant pistons and all this. I'm like, come on, dude. And that's my problem. No verisimilitude. I don't buy it. And I don't, Star Wars and Empire, they made me believe. And I love them. And a lot of the comics and the novels did. And when I see stuff like I just don't understand. Like, why do you have to make like Fennec Shand's internal organs? Like, it looks like someone took a gigantic muffler and shoved it in her insides. I don't believe it.
Well, you wanted something more elegant looking.
Yeah, something that looked actually more functional, realistic.
And maybe something that looks more advanced.
Yeah, and I look at her, I'm like, come on, guys. Who's going to... And the guy's like, no, you don't want to cover up that great machinery. I'm like, no, you pretty much would. You've left her chest open. What about the rest of her? What about her esophagus? What if she breathes in a mosquito that stings her, in her brain? I mean...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I kind of think that overall those cybernetic parts, they didn't look the way I would have imagined them to look. They kind of stuck out versus blending in, like you just said, with Luke's hand. I think they could have come up with something slicker or something that looks like a real arm or a real leg. Not stuff that looks like you just pretty much stuck it on them.
Yeah, that episode took me completely out a bit because, again, Robert, I understand that you wanted to do Alita Battle Angel. You're not, just let it go. Like, let that go right now. Don't try to incorporate that same thing because it's not the same IP. Let it go, bro.
Well,
like,
also,
that's what I hated. I couldn't stomach it because it was like, yo, what's the reason? Like, why are they here? Like, there was no motivation there at all.
No, not, and also, if you're a kid and you want to have cybernetic implants, a new eye or something, you're not going to have a giant piece that goes over half your face. That's like a comic book confection. Mm-hmm. If you're an actual human being or a person, if you're going to have your body modified, it's going to look cool and elegant. It's not going to look like Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's going to be like when in some of the Spider-Man movies when he discovers that the Winter Soldier has a metal arm and he's like, wow, that's a metal, like it should be something like that where it looks like an actual arm. And, he was impressed with like, whoa, you have a metal arm. Like I always love that part because it is impressive. And that's what we're expecting to see are these impressive parts that, are just spectacular looking, very complicated, have, multiple uses and what look like a regular arm.
Yeah.
When you look and see what they did, it's so Saturday morning cartoon. It's so exaggerated and ridiculous. Like, I ask myself, why would anyone want to do that to themselves? Like, where's the advantage?
MB Dyson 82997 says that the Borg were more elegant.
And they were the most inelegant people ever. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just weird. And here's the thing. I'm always banging on about verisimilitude. I didn't believe what happened to Fennec Shand. When I'm looking at her, I'm like, what is that? That's ridiculous. That none of it, the mechanics, the physics of it, I didn't believe it. I look at the mods, I'm supposed to go, ooh, it's like C-3PO's midsection or what. I'm like, no. It just doesn't look good. It's not creative, and I don't believe it. So why'd you do it?
Yeah.
Why did they make a point of saying, like when Boba Fett walks into that shop and the guy's like, "Aren't you a little old to be in here?" I'm like, where's that coming from? Why?
Again, that's a problem. The idea that body modifications, well, it's a young person's game.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. That line you just pointed out, this is problematic with all of this writing. That line of dialogue is about now, here and now. It's about, well, what would they say if they went in the Star Wars universe? Presumably, body modification would be normal. So it would be something that happened all the time. So nobody would care.
Yeah.
And then if they did it, it would be elegant. Like you're watching these people that are making themselves look ugly and stupid. That was my problem. I didn't believe that anybody who was actually into body modification would do that. And why? Because I read 1984's William Gibson's first cyberpunk novel, Neuromancer, where, characters like Molly has sunglasses inserted into her skull. She has readouts and all this, and it's elegant. It works. And that was in the 80s. But the problem is their vision of human body modification is at a cartoon level. And we're all looking at it going, that's dumb. Why would you do that? We saw Luke at the end of Empire. It wouldn't look like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the other issue that I had with some of it was that when they actually had to use some of these body modifications, like when they were fighting a black chrysanthemum.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Black chrysanthemum. I love that.
I'm sorry. Black K. When they were fighting Black K, their cybernetic parts were not strong. Like they were using them, but it looked very weak and it didn't make any sense. Like they spent all this money on stuff and the utility of them was just impractical.
Yeah.
So it was confusing. That was confusing.
Major execution issues.
And so how do you believe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my thing is like going forward, like literally I want, and here's the thing, is like we want this show to be successful. We want it to be.
We all want to love it. This is the funny thing. We all want to love it.
We want to love it. And that's the thing, is we got 2 episodes left to kind of cram in a whole bunch of what was lost. So we'll see.
Charlie the Unicorn says they don't have industrial grade cybernetic parts.
Then why do it?
And Alvaro Bazan says it looked super cheap.
It was so it's so cheap.
Yeah.
So, Norwegian Kryptonian says, after the multiverse use in No Way Home and Doctor Strange 2, do you guys think it will affect the Flash movie negatively in any way? That's not a bad question. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't think it will.
No, I'm excited about Flash. So, no, I don't think it will be negatively affected.
I mean, I think the whole multiverse idea is played out. It's a gimmick that should be used like once in a blue moon.
Yeah. And
now we're getting a bunch of different movies, and like Marvel's like, we're gonna cash in with cameos, but
yeah, I don't know. And I'm hoping, like I said, I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt because I love Doctor Strange.
I do too.
I love the first film, and I'm going with this one completely open to it. I mean, I still think it has potential to be a great film. Difference between this one and Flash is that Flash, that more so deals with time manipulation.
Yep.
Less multi, but more time manipulation. His act of trying to change things to suit his agenda, of making sure that his mother doesn't die, his dad doesn't go to prison, stuff like that, not knowing that its effect and its outcome on everyone else.
Yep.
Whereas, basically what he does changes the course of history. It changes the course of everyone else's history of what may happen, of what their destiny should be versus what it will be. Whereas with this, with the multiverse, is that you're completely, you're going into a totally different reality. You're opening doors from a totally different reality. You know what I mean? So that's messy.
But and also
both
the
messy.
question is what is the story? Why are you why do we have to open the door?
It gets
I
very
think-
messy, and then you have to kind of reset your parameters every time a door is open because you're not quite sure what's going to emerge.
And I think it's well, I mean, of course, we're going to see. This is an exact. I would actually say this is the effect of what happened from No Way Home. This is basically the outcome of what actually transpired from No Way Home. Because I've always said it, like when you open and when those when it was open and we actually saw it, don't think that nothing came through.
I think it was a good lesson to learn, and I think that if he's the only one who's going to walk away and remember that lesson, although I'm pretty sure that MJ knows what happened too. I think it was a valuable lesson to learn, and that's why Strange was so reluctant to do this.
Yeah. I mean, look, I won't lie. I can't wait to see it. I think it's be amazingly fun.
Yeah.
Sorry. Isaiah Ruiz says, I hope I got that right. Do you think we could see another cameo like Luke Skywalker cameo at the end of Doctor Strange 2? Or pardon me. Hang on. Let me read this again. Do you think that we could see another cameo like the Luke Skywalker cameo at the end of season 2 in Doctor Strange? But could it be like Han Solo? Sorry, you're not even talking about them. I am missing this. What you are asking is, like at the end of Mandalorian season 2, we got Luke Skywalker. Do you think at the end of Boba Fett that we'll get something along those lines like Han Solo? Well, here's
I don't think we should, because the series is not ready for it yet.
I hope not. I hope they don't, because we didn't even get that in the first season of The Mandalorian. We didn't. We didn't need it because we got a totally different story that was told. So I hope not. I really hope not.
I mean, here's the thing. We got a CGI Luke Skywalker, which is fine. It's fine. And it was cool and all that, and he wrecked shop, and it was all great. But again, I feel they are using excuses, and they're not. To me, that's easy. Who doesn't want to see Luke? Why did they put Vader in Rogue One? We all loved it. I don't think it really made any sense, but okay. It's fine. People screamed and yelled, and it was awesome. But why do we have to see these old legacy characters all the time? Tell me a great story.
Look, listen, I don't mind seeing the legacy characters as long as you utilize them right. And listen,
and he
Force Awakens, the Last Jedi, and the Rise of Skywalker was a prime example of how you can fuck it up.
Yeah,
like literally.
And Luke was not in the episode too long. Like it was a long episode, and we got a lot of fighting, a lot of action, a lot of events that happened at the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian, and that was great. And it wasn't until the very, very end, for what couldn't have been more than 5 or 6 minutes, that we finally got Luke. And then he left. He didn't stick around. So
in and out.
Yes.
That was it. And we didn't need any more. And I don't think we need any more going forward. We don't need any more of those appearances. Like, come on, like, then you're relying. Then it becomes like, you're relying on those things to help elevate your show, and you don't need that. Like, come on, man. Like, I hope they don't. I really hope they don't.
Why do you guys do it,
bounty hunters? Give us the bounty hunters. Give us the bounty hunters. You give us IG. You give us Dengar.
Zuckus, Dengar, Boss.
You give us all of them, Boss. Give us those, and then we're good.
I think we could have seen characters that we either haven't seen before in the films versus what we saw at the end of the Mandalorian season 2. I still would have been very happy with it. Like, it was an incredible episode, but just the reaction from people in general to Luke's appearance was just phenomenal. And I don't know whether they can recreate that. It might be very difficult. It was the timing of so many different things. The reaction might not have been the same had, Luke's appearance in the sequels been different.
Agreed.
It might be very different. And so this is something to think about, going forward when it comes to these characters, when they appear, and if the appearance makes sort of more sense in that context, people are going to react more strongly to it. But if it makes sense, right? And if you maintain the consistency, which is what people are really desirous of, then the appearance is great. For example, if this Book of Boba Fett show goes on and Boba does not somehow rise to the occasion, pardon my description, but that's pretty much it for me. And then he shows up in another series where he does kick ass. The response, I don't know how I would respond to that, because I've been kind of like, they've been trying to deaden my response to him. I feel like, they've been trying to say, no, he's going to be who he is. You have to pacify yourself and just accept that. And I'm like, I can't accept it. I don't know whether I could accept it. So I would feel conflicted seeing him if he doesn't step up in the next 2 episodes, but then they presented us with something, a few years from now where he's badass. It would feel very strange. Like, I'm like, well, did this happen after he decided he was giving up bounty hunting, and has he decided to now fight? It's kind of like the context of it doesn't, jive necessarily.
No, you're right.
Let me ask you a question, and I'm gonna ask both of y'all this question. Do you think, even if we get in the next 2 episodes, if they step up and we get the vicious Boba that we always wanted, do you think, even if we get that, it's gonna wipe the slate clean?
No, because the show's holistic. You have to look at everything. I mean, we might get some great scenes. I hope we do. But I still think the show has been stilted and weird. And I think that the idea of it, like, for me, Boba gets out of the Sarlacc pit. He goes to Jabba's palace, gets his ship, takes off and wreck shop.
Yeah.
I think what we've been watching is a weird amalgamation of a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
And it hasn't quite worked.
Yeah, I have to agree. Unfortunately, I think that he might be at the point of being irredeemable. And this is a very dangerous position for any character to be in. Yeah. There should be, if you're watching an episode and, there's this conflict, not just in the character, but in the storytelling as well, where we don't know, I think you both have said, it's like, in some points, we don't know who the antagonist or the protagonist is.
Right.
That's very difficult to be this far into a series and not have that answer. And so, getting this episode 5 was kind of like it almost gave us a little bit of a relief from having to bear this burden of trying to figure it out. Like, there's a lot of mental machinations going on here that, when you watch a show, you shouldn't have to mentally try to figure out stuff like this. Yeah. But, it's unfortunate. And I think that, let's say he did change dramatically, it would be it's going to feel kind of weird. I don't know whether it's going to give me that satisfying feeling that I'm desirous of seeing Boba.
Well, also, the thing is, people have these expectations. We imbue into these characters what we want them to be. Mm-hmm. And we all do that. We can't help it. But when those characters don't turn out to be exactly what we want, you either roll with it, or you're like, well, those people don't understand. Both ways are valid. Mm-hmm. But I think all of us want the same things. We just want great stories well told. That's it. And if we're not getting, it's not about, well, I want this character to be this way or that way. No. You can make the character anything you want him to be, but the story that you're writing has to be consistent from scene to scene to scene. Like, the character is not going to necessarily, you might want him to go do this, but he wouldn't do that. He would go over there and do this.
Yeah.
And then when you get into arguments like, well, I just decided that he did this. I'm like, based on what, man? What did you decide that on? Yeah. Well, that's what I wanted. I'm like, but is that what Boba, your character, wanted? Does he want you to like? That's tough.
Daniel Villarreal says that season 2 should make fun of season 1 by Boba saying I was having an existential crisis. And, I think that that's very interesting because I wouldn't be surprised about that. And however, I think it became disjointed for us. Yeah. And, we were it felt like we were promised something different. And it's okay that they want to tell this story, but, I think we all agree that the delivery of it could have been a little better. And so, that also was very confusing.
But again, it's also, the people today don't do the work. They haven't read the books. They don't know classical literature. They don't even understand story structure, which can be taught. Yeah. And it's frustrating to watch these things that are any less than great. Yep. Because we live in a world where we have so much great stuff. Mm-hmm. Listen, Tom Jr. Jackson says, is Ezra Miller trying to tank his career? Have you followed it all, both of you, the Ezra Miller controversy?
What happened now?
I have. He's made some comments, I think, on Twitter.
Yes.
And it's come to a point, I think, for this young man. Honestly, I don't know how old he is, but I believe that he does have some issues that he's dealing with. And, it might be at a point where he's pushing the limits even, for his own, purposes here. He has made comments about different things, and these comments are not bearing on his reputation.
He called out a specific chapter of the KKK and suggested they kill themselves, and if they didn't, that he or somebody he knew would take care of it. And
dangerous territory.
I don't know what they did or whatever. It's like, look, I don't believe in racism. I believe in exploiting people of all colors. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a joke, by the way. It's a joke, just so people. Mm. But so he said this, and look.
Wait a minute. So what was the context? And this is not even.
This is the thing we don't know. We don't know. He was driving, and he was talking about a specific branch of the Ku Klux Klan, and he said, "Why don't you all kill yourselves with your own guns? And if you don't, other people will come by. You know what you did, or something." Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm like, can you imagine Warner Brothers publicity department going, "Wait, what?" Yeah. I mean, we're making a movie with Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton as Batman, and our lead actor, The Flash, said what?
My thing is, all right, look, I'm definitely, as you already know, you can probably already tell that I am not a fan of the KKK. Or
wait a minute, wait, what?
Follow.
No,
definitely not a fan of that. But I believe. I'm definitely not. And I believe that they should be held accountable for a lot of stuff that is actually going on in this world and a lot of hate that has actually been, dealt. But my thing is, when you're an actor or you're a performer, I believe that your publicist should step in and say, look, save that for a place where you can flesh it out more in a context where that you're being asked that question and you can flesh it out and give your opinion on the situation. But even at the same time, like, look, I don't wish harm on anybody.
Right.
But Judgment Day, meaning that, look, you're going to be held accountable for what you've done. You're going to be held accountable some way by law or whatever. You will be. I never wish death on anyone. No matter how much I may dislike a person or whatever, but I never do that.
You don't have to, because they're always going to get there.
Exactly. It's always going to come around. But my thing is, it's like, when people say shit like this, where is your publicist? Like, where are they? Are they stepping in saying, yo, look, bro, don't you understand? We got a movie coming. Like, literally, like, we don't need that type of energy. Yes, I don't like it either. I can't stand it. but there's a time and a place for it. You know what I mean? And we already know that people search around on social media and pull certain things that's trying to diminish and destroy a person's character or their integrity. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, but it's not even just what he said about that. It was that whole video that surfaced that he was, he choked out a female or something like that. I'm like, I don't know. Like, bro, like, I don't know. Maybe like you said, he has issues. Maybe he has like, issues that he's basically dealing with, and maybe, and the thing is, it's like, I'm not even I can't really comment on what he said because I don't know in what context he said it or what was involved.
I just saw it was interesting because I don't think anyone quite knows, because he actually says,
it's weird.
You know what you've done or whatever.
Yeah, but that's weird. Like that's really weird. But at the same time, I mean, hey, they will be held accountable, especially for what they've done to an entire culture. You know what I mean, on both sides. So, but at the same time, it's not. When it comes to entertainment, like just save that for a discussion with where it's warranted, where you're supposed to have those type of discussions. You know what I mean?
Well, listen, this new iteration of this show, I want to keep it short, 2 hours.
Yo.
So I think we're a little over 2 hours. Midnight meta, whatever it's going to be, I don't know. It's going to be iterative. We don't know what we're going to do, but I thought this is a great conversation.
Yes, it was.
And we don't need to stay up. I mean, you guys are staying up much later than me. But, I mean,
what time is it over there right now, man?
It is
like 2 behind, right?
It's 2 o'clock. Little 2:08. But here's the thing.
2 hours flew by fast, Robert.
Right.
Really fast. What I would like to do, so the Burnettwork, because I have gone to work full time for John Campia.
Yeah.
Robservations is going to turn into a night show at 8 o'clock. I have to change everything I've been doing. Justin show, all that. Because beginning February 1st, I'm going to be working with John all day long on his show. So things are going to change. This show will not. Except I'm thinking about starting this show at 9 p.m. my time.
Which is 12 our time.
Yes. And doing it a quick 90-minute show, then I go walk the dogs.
Okay.
And so we don't have to stay up late, but I think that, and also a show that you and I and Lael, the three of us, will confab and we'll come up with a topic that we can actually, exploit and tell people what are we going to talk about. And I would, like the three of us, and I mean it, the three of us will decide what we do. And I think we'll do this show at 9 p.m. Fridays.
Gotcha.
Okay.
If that's okay with you guys.
9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah, 9 p.m. Pacific Time. So we're not staying up. We'll do it at midnight East Coast time because that's still Midnight Metal, a.k.a. Midnight Meta, a.k.a. whatever we're going to talk about. We can change it. It's an iterative. The important thing is the three of us.
Yes.
Whatever the show is going to be, it's going to be the three of us on Friday nights. And we can do something different on Saturday. But right now, Friday nights, the three of us are going to do this show together and discuss issues of the day, do deep dives, philosophical dives. We're going to talk about not just like, oh, it was so awesome. That movie was rad. I love the scene where Sam Wilson said, on your left, and all the Avengers came. It's not just going to be that. We're going to have.
Wonderful.
So, yeah. And everyone's going to be involved. So, this is the first of that show. And we'll see where it goes. Someone said, well, Midnight Meta, maybe that's not the good name. Tell us what the name is. I think Midnight should be in the name because it's branding. Yeah. Midnight something. And if you want to write music for us, you can. If you make graphics, we'll put it on. We'll pay you. I'll pay you. Whatever. Send me something. And, we're going to put this on. This show is going to be on a paying basis for everybody. So it'll be fun.
Thank you so much, Robert and Lael.
I'm so
it's great to have this new start to the show, and I'm excited.
Love it.
Now, I think we have to point out, you have your own YouTube channel now.
I do have my own YouTube channel. Yes.
And what is it called?
It is called Positive Fandom.
Which is a great name. Positive Fandom on YouTube. All of you right now. There's, almost 200 concurrent viewers at this late hour. Go to Positive Fandom on YouTube and subscribe to...
Yes.
Now, Lael Rockwell always calls me the smoothest man on YouTube. I think that's wrong.
True.
Oh,
That's
no,
true.
I think it's wrong.
That is true.
I'd
That
like
is true.
Okay.
You can't wipe the slate clean of that. That is true. Come on, man.
All
It's
right.
true. You got to leave it there.
I'll leave it there, but then let me go. Lael, if you really think that I'm the smoothest man on YouTube,
Yes.
I would say this. You have the coolest beard on YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, come on
Man.
now. Look at you. Just look at that gorgeous face of yours and look at that beard. I mean, my God, sir. You are a fine specimen of mankind, if I'm, being honest.
Man, you don't know how many times I've woken up looking at
Thought
a
of me?
It was
Just kidding.
What would Rob do?
Oh my God. Yeah, that's it. You know what I would do? I would have amazing beard trimming accoutrements or in my I don't have anything I try, and if I had your beard, sir, I would have an entire arsenal
Oh my
of
God.
implements to make sure it looked good.
Man.
And then I would have Coco Tulip to make sure to stand behind me and hold my waist and make sure while I'm shaving that she would make me look the best I could.
You know, like the Ghost scene on Ghost when both hands clasped.
Oh
and you
yeah.
make that clay. That's how it is when I'm shaving. Both hands clasped, and she just neatly just helps to line it while I'm standing shirtless in front of the
Wow. Okay. First of all, I'm getting hot and bothered by all this.
That's
so
not true. That's not true.
Really? Only once or twice a week?
Yeah, probably maybe once.
All right
once,
then.
just once.
So Lael,
Yeah.
For those of people who don't know, Lael is his YouTube channel is like a meteor going across the sky. There's never going to burn out. It's just going to burn brightly forever. Lael, you've been doing some killer stuff on YouTube. What are you doing?
Man. Oh man. All right. So it's the 1/6 Scale Man YouTube channel. If you haven't already subscribed, do that now. Again, great segments we have on Monday, on Sundays we have Take Your Position, where we actually pose up some figures and give you some ideas on 1/6 scale. Like this Sunday, it'll actually be we're actually going to recreate comic book covers. So
Wow.
We're going to grab a couple of covers and
What a great idea that is, by the way.
yeah, it's going to be amazing segments. So I'm excited about that. On Mondays, we have Comic Book Talk with Friends, where we just kind of break down everything in the realm of comics. So that's exciting always. We're here with Justin on Tuesday for his show.
Mm-hmm.
On Wednesdays, it is Say What, where we break down everything in the 1/6 scale universe and figures and collecting, whether it's 1/6 scale figures, statues, what have you. Be there. We discuss.
By the way, I
that.
got to ask you about your theme song. Did you compose that?
Which
for
one?
Say What?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I did that. I did the theme song for Say What. 6 Scale Mafia actually did the video. He did the intro. So he did the intro for both. He did the intro for Comic Book Talk with Friends, Say What, and also Take Your Position. So if you haven't subscribed to his channel, he does good work over there as well. So he did that. I
Nice.
just composed the actual music for those segments. And then on of course Thursday, myself, we actually have the Uncivilized Scoundrel show with me, Herb, Mario, CC3PO, and Vince, where we're going to actually break down episode 6 of Mando. Oh man, I'm hoping, like I said, it can carry over. So yeah,
Episode 6 of Mando. Listen to you.
Did I say Mando,
Listen
right?
to you. Yes, you said that. Oh my
There's book-
God.
Okay, so That's what it felt, right? The Book of Boba. I apologize. So it's the Book of Boba, but hey, we already know it felt like Mando.
Freudian slip, dude. That's okay.
It is, but
Exactly
it's
right.
We
okay.
don't
We've all been
judge here.
doing
We
it
don't
for
judge on midnight
how-
meta. How
Hey.
meta is that? That's some meta shit right there.
We call it how we see it, and that's how we saw it. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. So we'll have that discussion on Thursday, and then back here at 9 o'clock or midnight for us.
That's
for
right.
Midnight Metal on
Midnight
Friday.
Eastern.
So yeah,
Yeah,
let's
we're
go.
gonna make Midnight Metal a 9 o'clock show. So
For me on my channel on Positive Fandom tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon at 12, I'm going to have part 5 of my review with the Arcane, which I'm doing with Dieter Bastian.
Yeah.
We're reviewing the entire Arcane series, and then after that, we're going to be doing the entire Cobra Kai series on Sunday mornings at 10:30 in the morning. Join my channel, Positive Fandom, and join us for a Sunday brunch. It's a show where we just talk about all the different things that happen in the
wait
course
a
of the
minute.
week.
Sunday morning at 10:30.
Yeah, Eastern. Yes.
Oh, okay. Just because
10:30
because I got something going on with Dieter Bastian on Sundays.
I know, right? And then on Monday nights, you can join me as I stream with Lorena Creole on Toxic Femmes. I'm now part of that team of the Toxic Femmes.
By the way,
team.
I love her. I love her so much.
Yeah, she is wonderful.
Oh, wonderful.
On Thursday nights is my Uncivilized Scoundrels on the 1/6 Scale Man Network, where we talk about Star Wars.
Yes, yes.
On Fridays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can find me on Midnight's Edge in the Morning with Tom and Andre. And of course, on Friday night, you can find me here with Robert and Lael on the Burnettwork.
You know what's going to be funny? One day, I'm going to realize that Lael is actually a 1/6 scale man. Like we're gonna find out the one, and I'm gonna be like, dude, I wasn't taking you literally. You know, we're gonna see some weird scale thing where he's gonna get into Jazz Inc.'s bat wing and fly around his room. It's gonna be great.
And coming up soon, maybe you, Lael, and Robert will do this on my Twitch channel. Yeah. I'm hoping to start streaming gaming. It's going to be old games. It's not going to be new games, but just to kind of like have some fun streaming every once in a while. Yeah. Just to kind of like, enjoy ourselves and kind of, enjoy that collaborative play. So that's something else that I think we're all going to be doing. And I'm looking
collaborative play is on my Twitter, or not Twitter. What is it? Wait, hang on. Tinder. Oh wait, no, I'm just kidding. Collaborative play. I meant PlayStation.
You're lucky. I don't even have a PlayStation 5. You are so lucky, Robert. I don't have one. I still have like a PlayStation 3.
I have my PlayStation 5, and ask me how many times I played it. Like I've had time to play it.
No, literally. I know it's tough, but I'll tell you.
In my defense, though, it doesn't listen. There's games that you can play, that you can download, if you have PlayStation Plus. But as far as games that the system actually that you can buy and purchase is limited. Like for right now, there's not.
No, it is. The Ghost of Tsushima director's cut's pretty dope, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm actually finishing up now.
And you can play in the Kurosawa mode, which is in black and white. Like it's an unbelievable game.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
incredible.
I love it.
By the way, I'm still waiting for my figure. It's in a box that's somewhere between here and Hong Kong.
You still didn't get it yet?
A Ghost of Tsushima figure?
I got this, my Comic Sanctorum order.
That's
I got that. I got the Cajun card player, but
hold up. So you're still waiting on your Golden Armor Wonder Woman?
Yeah, dude.
Really?
You're still waiting.
Oh yeah, it's all in the same box. Wow. And they changed the Hong Kong postal thing. Then they're like, well, we have to go back to DHL, and I sent them the money, and they were sent out the same day, like 2 weeks ago or whatever. So this is, I get it. It's fine. It's cool. I'm more interested in like the 8 things that I've paid off via partially that that they keep sending me invoices I can't pay off, and I'm like, I hope you have all these things.
Yeah.
Still,
you know what? Every time I pay off partial, and if I any figures that I paid off, I have to. What I do is I'll write down a number. Like I'll actually make sure I have everything jotted down because I keep a spreadsheet.
Yep.
And then I'll hit them up. I'll email them, say this is paid off. I want to actually do this by DHL or whenever the figure's available. This is one. You got to keep on them, like
dude.
literally, because
I've sent them things, and I'm like, I'm like, I have one more payment for the Ecto 1.
Yeah, you told me that.
And I'm like, I could do. I you know what? I might as well do that this week. I'm like, send that shit to me, son. But it's just like, come on, man. I'm like I've got things that I know they've had in that I bet they don't have anymore.
I'm still waiting for my Razor Crest from HasLab.
Yeah.
Oh, has that been sent out?
They sent an email out, which kind of like aroused our curiosity, but
Letting you know that it's going to be shipping soon. That's the email that we get, but there's no follow up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you'll get you. That's you. You know what? I hate that I slept on that.
Man.
Do you think they'll offer a HasLab for the new, craft that Mando has?
No, I think they're gonna make that. They're gonna make that.
Yes, Leo. Yeah. Oh, you think so?
I hope Jazz Inc. makes it.
No, I think they're gonna. Oh, you mean for 6 scale?
Yeah.
6 scale.
Dude, you see that prototype Batwing? I'm like, you know what?
Yeah, I did.
I'm like, I need it.
Yeah,
I've been paying off a lot of stuff. That 66 Batmobile, but that Batwing, I got the Snow Speeder, I got the Bespin Gantry. I'm like, but I saw that Batwing, I'm like,
yeah. Bro.
Oh, I need that.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough because there's so much. The only thing I have coming from him right now is the Ray Speeder. That's the one that I'm waiting for. So that should be in March, I believe. So,
yeah, I didn't.
So many good things to look forward to.
Yeah, I didn't order that. But Snow Speeder, Batwing, Bespin Gantry, the 66 Batmobile, the Batman Forever Batmobile.
Yeah, bro. That's a lot. That's a lot, bro. And to hear that he's basically thinking about releasing the what is it? The Justice Mobile again, possibly. Bro, come on, man.
You know what? I gotta get that.
I'm telling you, bro.
I have Luke's land speeder right over there. I got the Millennium Falcon cockpit right over here, which is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my entire life.
One of these days, Robert, you have to show us that cockpit. Was that from Jazz Inc. Or was it?
Oh yeah.
You got to show us that. That's
right there.
And
it's kind of mean.
You know what he's doing, right? You know what Jazz Inc. is doing, right?
What are they doing?
Oh,
they're doing the armorers.
Oh, are they really?
Yeah,
I've got to get it.
They showed that months ago that they were actually working on that prototype. Yeah.
Okay, I got to tell you, Jazz Inc. though is also doing something. I can't say what it is.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. We can't.
I can't say what it is, but I gotta say it's so out of left field. It's so out of left field. Dude, I'm all in. I'm
all in. When he said it, oh yeah, right.
You said it and it came to pass.
Well,
oh my God,
it's so wacky. Like I don't know why they're doing it, but I'm like, oh, I'll buy that.
If you're an 80s fan, you're all in.
Okay.
I mean, look, here's what I want. I want Airwolf and Blue Thunder in 6 scale.
Yeah.
And that actually is kind of a clue as to what they're actually doing that no one will probably ever make the connection. But think about Airwolf and Blue Thunder.
You know what? If you're going to do that, then give me Clint Eastwood and Firefox. Give me that.
Oh, dude.
I thought that was offered.
Think Russian.
Remember that?
Oh, dude, I love that. That is what a great design.
I thought they made Fire. Didn't they make it?
Not in 6 scale. Dude, that would be huge. They can't make that in 6 scale.
That would be huge, yeah. Give me that.
I mean,
I thought I saw a model of it somewhere.
Give me the last Starfighter ship. I mean, come on.
Right.
Where's it gonna end?
Yeah.
I mean, we need a 6 scale X-wing.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. Yes, we do. Yes,
I need a 6 scale X-wing, and they've talked about the 6 scale TIE fighter that Hot Toys are gonna make.
That thing would be huge, bro. Like that thing would be so huge. Like I don't know, but if you create it, I'll buy it. You build it, I will come and get it.
We will come. I
Straight
mean,
up.
a 6-scale TIE fighter, bruh. Come on.
Come on, man.
Dude,
I
I
have
mean,
the pilot.
you'd have
I
to.
have the pilot right
You
there.
just hang it. You would hang it, man. You'd hang it from your ceiling.
I have the pilot. I don't need any. I have the pilot.
Well,
already.
you're gonna get the armor forge.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, the armor forge. That's what's actually going to come. Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
It's
come on,
true.
man.
By the way, Michael Preston, Elizaviews is coming back.
Yes. Tell us about that, Robert.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the because I'm going full time on the John Campea show, he made me an offer I couldn't refuse during the day. So Robservations is going to do 3 shows on the weekdays at night. I'll still do weekend shows as well, but we're going to do Elizaviews on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Elizaviews, I don't know if Lael ever saw it, but my girlfriend Elizabeth and I did like 150 movie review shows called her name's Elizabeth. Elizaviews, whining about movies, where we would share a bottle of wine
Yeah.
and talk about a movie. We'd review a movie.
Okay.
Some random show. People really liked it. It was a lot of fun. And we had to stop because she went back to school.
Okay.
And she's still going back to school. She's teaching and all that, but we love doing the show together and people miss it. So we're going to bring it back where we reviewed movies from all across Hollywood history. And, at first I had tried to make it the most obscure movies ever. Like, you people need to watch these movies. But then, yeah, well, then it wasn't movies people like. They're like, well, Rob, Elizabeth, we want to watch movies we would like to watch, not like movies that are a chore, like a textbook. So I'm like, okay, I hear you. And so we're going to bring back whining about movies, hopefully with better microphones, and it'll just be better. But it was a great show. Elizabeth and I had a great time. We had a great audience. It was a lot of fun. So we're going to bring that back as well. So it's got the Robservation shows have to be at night during the week because I'm working with John Campea. Let's Get Physical Media won't change. This show won't change. And we'll see if we want to do Midnight Meta for 2 nights. And by the way, Midnight Meta, it might be a different name. Someone's like, oh, Midnight Meta. I don't want to promote Mark Zuckerberg, whatever. You know what? I think Midnight, it actually be kind of funny if we change the name of the show every week and Midnight is the only thing that stays the same.
Yeah, we could go Midnight Meta, Midnight Magic, Midnight Madness, Midnight Mimosa.
All right.
Midnight Manja. Midnight. I mean, it could be Midnight anything. Midnight Snack.
Yeah.
Midnight Special. Oh, you wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
You hear the work bells ringing. You never know.
You never.
I mean,
know.
that's actually kind of funny. It's the midnight whatever.
Midnight. That's it. It's this midnight whatever, bro.
No, it's got to be midnight. Different thing every night. So this was Midnight Meta.
Midnight.
Who knows? Mudslides at midnight, says Mikey Lito. That could be cool. Or Midnight Mudslides.
Midnight mudslides.
That's a lot of work to drink, though, at night to make midnight. What we really need is a bartender. A bartender that would make us, if you want a milkshake, you can have one. If you want a mudslide, you can have one. If you want something,
I like
Midnight Michigan, that's a good one. I like that. Midnight at 9, 10 to midnight. I like that. Midnight Mental, Midnight Caller, Mukbang. I'm telling you, it's good. Where's Mukbang? He was here. He disappeared. We will do that. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I was going to get off at like 2. It's 2:30, but I love hanging out with you all.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about where we can find all of you. I have not thanked my moderating staff. Tom Jr. Jackson, I made you a moderator. You've been great.
And Darren
Darren Seeley is here, so thank you.
And me.
Yes.
And you.
Yes.
We're going to bring back the March of Don't think it's gone away, because it's not gone away.
Bring it back.
By the way, because Lael hasn't heard this. Lael, can you actually hear the show right now?
Hold on. I can. Hold on.
Because I need you to hear
the new
whatever this new song is. I can send it to you.
I can hear it. All right. No, you know what? I listen to it on my phone so it doesn't interfere with.
I'm gonna play it again. I'm gonna play. This is the opening thing with the song. So I want to hear what you think, because you're engineer.
Yeah.
So for everyone, this is the new Alexander Bornstein's theme to Midnight Meta or Midnight whatever the show is. So here it is again. Here it is for you. Pardon me. Actually, you know what? Hang on. Before I do that, I effed up. It's not me. That's it was me actually, and my problem. Hang on. I want to play it for you again. It's so lame. I'm just lame. It's just lame. Come on now. Lame, lame, lame. Let's see if this one will work. Try this, Lael. See if this works. Just hang on, and I'm going to talk through it while we come to that. Here's the new theme.
Observations with Robert Meyer Burnett.
It's a whole different vibe.
Literally. I do.
All right, it's a totally different vibe, man.
I love that feel, bro.
It's a little midnight, it's a little gothic, it's a little crazy.
Tom Jr. Jackson says it sounds like a mystery to be solved.
That's right, and that's what we are. We are a mystery to be solved. So,
yes.
You know, I'm with that. I love it.
what we need are graphics and all that. You know, people always send us graphics. So hopefully people will come through. I mean, I don't know. I love
it. I love that.
I'm glad you like that. It's more, it's more like Tim Burton, Danny Elfman.
It's so midnight mature, bro. I love it.
Midnight mature. I love that too. There's a name.
Midnight mature, bro.
That was the last thing anyone would ever hang on me. Or midnight immature.
Yeah. Oh, bro. It sounded so good, bro. I like that.
Thank you, Robert, for making it sound so cool.
I didn't do it. It's Alexander Bornstein.
Thank you, Alexander Bornstein, for
it. Just sounds like it's like adult themed. It's like laid back. Like I love
it. It's adult.
I love it.
It's totally adult.
I love that.
Oh yeah. Well, listen, kids. I need to go to bed because I have to get up early and record another Designing Hollywood podcast. I just want to point out that Paul Tazewell, who was the costume designer for Spielberg's West Side Story, he was also the costume designer of In the Heights and Hamilton for Lin-Manuel Miranda. He is the next interview I did. That should go up tomorrow if it's not already up now. Mm-hmm. Look for it on wherever you get your podcasts and on the Designing Hollywood YouTube page. It's pretty cool. He was a terrific, terrific guy.
Robert, is there a Zoom call tomorrow?
Yes. It starts at 12. For those of you who are members of this channel, and you can be a member for $1 a month. Support however you want. We are having a member Zoom call starting at 12:45. Only because I had to push it because I'm doing a Designing Hollywood.
Pacific Standard Time.
Yes, Pacific Time. So if you're a member, and they're great. I mean, we get to see everybody. You get to talk. You get to hang out. People ask me questions. You get to see everybody and chat and say disparaging shit about me behind my back, which is fine because I need that. But yes, so it's a lot of fun. I love the member calls are some of my favorite things we do.
Yeah.
And there's going to be more membership stuff and all that. So if you support the channel via memberships, I'm trying to I get like $15 a month from Patreon. I'm trying to get rid of my Patreon. I don't quite know. They won't let me do it. I'd rather people be members on YouTube.
They won't let you get rid of it?
I just don't quite know how to do it. I'm like, I don't need pay. Everyone's moved over to the channel, and it's like we're going to be doing a lot more for members, and I'm gonna start doing another thing called Bobby's Bookshelf, where I'm just going to do 10-minute videos about books that are in here, of the thousands of books I have around me. I'm going to do book reports and be like, here's why you need to read this. And I'm basically going to impose upon you what will make your life better through literature, and you have to listen to me.
Robert's recommended 100 books of science fiction, fantasy, and horror.
That's right. That is exactly right. And not just that.
We need that.
Other books. Reading is fundamental. I once heard.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. It's and it's undervalued.
It is way undervalued. And by the way, all the books I'm going to give you to read, they're all delicious books. They're all delicious. You'll start reading them and go, oh my God, this tastes so good. They're delicious books. I will never give you a book that isn't delicious to read, because you never thought that reading a book could be like a Starburst fruit chew or a Skittles or pick your favorite candy. I will give you books that will make your brain feel like it's chewing on your favorite candy. I promise you. I will not let you down. The books I give you are A-list. You will never lose out. I promise.
It's good. It's good to learn more. It's good. That's a very good idea, and I think it's going to benefit everyone.
Yeah. And by the way, the first book, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll give you one, though. I'll give you a book you should all read. And you'll read it, and you'll say, why isn't this a movie? I want you all to read Glenn Duncan's The Last Werewolf.
Okay.
Just read it. And by the way, I just want you to know, I know it's a trilogy now, but when I first read the book, it was not. So, Glenn Duncan's The Last Werewolf.
I just looked it up.
Yeah. By the way, don't read anything about it. Don't read about what it's about. Don't read the Cliff Notes.
No.
Just get the goddamn book.
You
did? All right, there you go.
Yeah, I just bought it.
The Last Werewolf, and report back, because I guarantee you it's delish. It is delish.
Yeah.
Bobby's Bookshelf only has delicious books on it, and I'm going to tell you what you should bite into, and you can feel the literary goodness just... It's almost as if you bit into like your favorite fruit or your favorite steak or your favorite seafood, and like your favorite lobster tail, and there's butter that's just dripping down your... That's what the books I'm going to tell you to read is. It's just like eating a lobster.
You're making me hungry, and I don't have any lobster here.
I don't either. And people are like, Rob, well, I don't like seafood. Well, that's fine. Eat venison, whatever. Whatever you like. I'm telling you. Man. I'm going to give you delicious books. Glenn Duncan's The Last Werewolf. That's the first one. The next, I'll give you another one.
Okay,
this is a good one. By Michael Faber. And this is the name of the title. Let me get this correct. The Book of Strange New Things.
Okay. And
Michael Faber wrote the book Under the Skin that was turned into a movie starring Scarlett Johansson. So I'm just going to tell you, The Book of Strange New Things. He also wrote The Crimson Petal and the White, if you've read that. But those are my first two recommendations. The Last Werewolf and The Book of Strange New Things. One is horror and one is science fiction. Read them. And you
got it.
All right, there you go. All right, kids, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Midnight Meta, whatever it's called. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. We had a good crowd tonight, so thank you all. And Lael and thank you, and I look forward to the future of this channel and what we're doing.
Yes, so excited.
And
Exciting times, man. It's so good to be here.
there you go, Midnight Meta. And you know what? Rorschach Walter Kovacs might tell you that the end is nigh. We, however, will tell you that the end is never here. Mm-hmm. It's never ending. We are eternal. We will live forever.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how we do it, we will. And life is great. And you should all be a part of it.
Yes, it is.
Don't complain. Oh, and by the way, everyone look up Coco Tulip and buy clothes. That's all I can say. And on that note, you kids, I will see you later. Good night, everyone.
Good night.